Good evening. Today is Monday, October 25th, 2021. The time is 6:04, and this regular meeting of the Romulus Community Schools Board of Education is called to order. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll? And for anyone joining remotely, please state your city, state, county, please.
Lester. Bergeron.
Present.
Piles.
Present.
Sherman.
German is excused.
Ebbets. Virtual. Romulus, Michigan, Wayne County. Terrell. Kennard.
We have a quorum. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. The first item of business is acceptance of the agenda. And I would like to move that the Board of Education accept the meeting agenda as amended, and with the amendment being to remove the HR interim hire. Is there support? Madam Secretary?
Who did the support?
Kennard, I'm sorry. Moved by Pyle, supported by Kennard.
Wester. Terrell. Ebbets. Yes. Kennard. Bergeron.
Now, is this motion to accept the minutes of the other meetings?
Piles.
No, I'm sorry, Ms. Evans. This motion is to accept the agenda as amended with removal of the HR to board member conversation.
Correct. So the votes I have so far are Wester, yes. Terrell, no. Ebbets, yes.
Okay. Okay, we can hear her, but we cannot have people shouting out from the audience today. Okay, Mr. Hanson, I need to ask you to please not shout out from the audience. Ms. Evans, if you would continue, you have Wester, yes. Terrell, no.
Ebbets, yes. Kennard, yes. Bergeron, no. Piles.
Wait, Bergeron?
No, I said yes.
Bergeron, yes.
I'm sorry. Piles.
Piles, yes. The agenda is accepted as amended. Next is the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered to be routine in nature by the Board of Education and will be acted upon by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items. If any member of the board or any citizen requests discussion of an item, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will become the first item of business under the report of the superintendent portion of the agenda. Approval of the minutes of the Board of Education, September 13th, 2021 regular meeting, October 11th, 2021 regular meeting, updated 10/25/21, October 11th, 2021 closed session, October 20th, 2021 special meeting, updated 10/25/21. Also, the approval to approve the bills for payment as submitted by the business office consultant, Mike Dixon, in the amount of $475,521.86. Approval the personnel actions as submitted by interim superintendent Sean McNatt, the resignation of Deanne Daigle, supervisor of early learning at RECC, effective October 28th, 2021, and Margaret Hazlett, Director of Human Resources, retirement effective September 30th, 2021. So I move that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there support? Moved by Piles, supported by Kennard. Madam Secretary?
Bergeron,
No.
Evans, yes. Wester,
Should we even mention? Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't hear. Okay, so there has been. So Ms. Wester has requested that the bills for payment be removed. So we are going to remove those from the consent agenda, and they will be the first item of business under the report of the interim superintendent. Thank you, Ms. Wester. Ms. Evans, if you would start the roll call vote again, please.
okay, Bergeron,
No.
Terrell. Terrell,
No.
Kennard,
Yes.
Evans, yes. Pyle,
Yes?
Wester,
No.
Okay, so the consent agenda is not approved. So we removed the bills for payment. Does something else need to be removed? Okay. So the consent agenda has not passed. Next, we have a presentation. It is upcoming sinking fund projects, bid pack number 5, and we are joined by representatives from Barton Malow, as well as our architecture firm, Integrated Design Solutions. Are you able to hear us? Okay?
Yep, I can hear you guys.
Great. Well, welcome and thank you for being with us tonight. The floor is yours.
Great, can you guys let me know when you can see my screen?
Yes.
yes.
So, good evening, board members and guests. Thank you for allowing Barton Mallow and IDS to give you an update on our sinking fund projects. As I was putting together this presentation, I wanted to spend a few moments actually talking about sort of the breadth of everything we've been working on to this point, because it is pretty impressive. When we started out in 2018 and 2019, we had some minor projects as we were planning to start to do some work on the high school. So just to give you guys a quick taste, we did the cafeteria flooring replacement that was part of the enhancement fund. The Bid Pack 3 high school work was recently completed. There's still some lingering things there, but I think we're all pretty happy with how the renovations turned out at the high school. Bid Pack 3 also included the Barth bus loop replacement, and that has been completed. It also included a chiller replacement at Hill Creek. So as we move forward into this year, into 2021, Bid Pack 4, these projects were planned last year in 2020, but are under construction currently. And they're progressing along. This is sort of the scope of the work. The front end, we did front entry renovations to add some security and updates to the offices, sort of for better sight lines, better security access. So this is a typical plan that we established at both Wick, Hale Creek, and Barth. At Barth, you're seeing some of the progress of construction there. The front entry is nearly done, and I believe that we've wrapped up most of the interior renovation work with some few minor things left to wrap up. Mill Creek, similarly, and Wick also progressing along. Also last year, some of the work that we developed was replacing the boilers at middle school. Those have been completed. We also have, throughout the district, developed monumental signage at all our schools. And this is an example, the one at the Romulus Early Childhood Center. You'll see the rest of them popping up at the elementary schools and middle school in the next coming months. So you'll see sort of a similar layout as to what we had at the Early Childhood Center, but with color coding kind of tied to the school's colors. The projects that are on the board, Bid Pack 5 and 5A at Romulus Elementary. We spent some time developing sort of the wayfinding, as that's a little bit different of a layout where it doesn't necessarily front the street to the road. So we added some wayfinding signage that those will be implemented this year or this next year to help with directing parents and buses and things like that to access the school. Additionally, we did entry enhancement security upgrades so that the secretary or receptionist can clearly view out and see who is coming in the building and have control for who's coming in the building. At the middle school, we did a similar enhancement where we are doing some security upgrades as well as some office enhancements. We also did some minor enhancements to the entry, adding sort of the Bulldogs logo decal and some clear branding for the school so that you know exactly where the entrance is at. The extent of the office upgrades includes the counseling area, the principal's area, reception area, and sort of also giving a clear view to the entry and having control of who's entering the building. This is sort of the back collaboration area by counseling in the principal's office. And then the last part of Bid Pack 5 and Bid Pack 5A is the bus loop enhancement at Romulus Middle School and Wick Elementary. This is also part of what's rolling out next year for construction. That is the bulk of the projects that we've been working on. There's also a weight room upgrade that we're currently working on for the high school that should be rolled out probably in the next coming weeks. I know work is already underway on that. Any questions?
Are there any, thank you very much, appreciate that. Are there any questions from board members?
Madam President, I have a
Yes, Ms.
question.
Kennard.
Some of the interest from some of the residents that have been proposed to me, maybe you'll be able to address that, and that is the parking lots. At what phase will the parking lots be a part of any upgrades?
Actually, tomorrow we have our sinking fund committee meeting, and we have been actively discussing at what point we're working on the parking lots with the ESSER fund work that is coming on board. We are looking at moving several components of the parking lots forward. Our civil engineer, Spalding de Decker, has done an evaluation of all the lots throughout the district. And we have graded all the different parts of the lots, and we will look at that tomorrow, actually, and evaluate what can be included as part of the ESSER funds, which is happening within the next year, as well as some of the bigger projects that are coming on board. And we're going to be pacing those out over the next few years.
Okay, and the one that was particularly a focus was the middle school. They're saying that the middle school parking lot is really in bad shape. I just wanted to bring that to your attention.
Yes, you know, Bill can comment or correct me, but I think as part of the ESSER funds, we're looking at upgrading the football track and returfing the football field. The adjacent parking area would be part of that work. And once that work finished, I think we were planning to then continue forward on the rest of the middle school parking lot towards the front. There is still a little bit, actually, if you can see it on the screen here, if you can see my mouse, where it says sort of work area. This parking lot is still a little ways out, but basically working from the football field down is sort of slated for the next year and a half.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Garland?
Yeah, and just to maybe go a little further than Mr. Maselli went, they've been working really hard with us. They mentioned that Spalding D. Decker had given us a sheet grading each parking lot. And in some cases, it's really simple to just come in, do a mill, and blacktop. In other cases, our parking lots are in really severe disrepair. So it requires removing everything and starting fresh. That's the problem that we're having. And so, like, if we talk about the parking lot, the main parking lot just in front of the middle school, which is one of our worst. If I'm thinking correctly, I think it was $2 million, and here's why. The Michigan Water Authority, the SWIPI, the Stormwater Prevention, requires that we have underground spiral therms that can spin off a lot of the debris. And so when we start getting involved in that, it adds hundreds of thousands of dollars to the product. And because they're in such disrepair, we have to go down that deep. And so that's what we've been doing. We've been trying to break out, see how much money we have here, what we can do, how we can spread it around, how we can hit each building with something. And we also, you know, we understand that that curb appeal is very important, but that infrastructure is just as vital moving forward for the residents as well. They're investing in the district. So, you know, we'll go over some things tomorrow in the meeting, but we have been trying to build out a plan, and these ESSER funds that come in, we're not sure yet if we're going to be able to utilize them for parking lots. It does talk about operations of the district, but we're not sure that's going to be part of it. So we want to clarify that. But regardless, these things we know what shape they're in at all the buildings, and we have a firm grasp on how much everything is going to cost at a high level, and we just don't have enough to do everything all at once.
Thank you. To Mr. Garland and Mr. Maselli, I just want to know, was it stated that in part of bid pack 5 is going to include work on the football field? Or will there be?
That's,
Okay. All right, so is that something we will be doing with sinking fund, or do we need to use that from another?
Well,
that's part of the conversation we'll be having is as we are evaluating what the ESSER fund will be able to relieve from the sinking fund, we are then using that to sort of figure out the pacing at what point we would be bringing that football field work online and some of the other bigger projects. But in the original sort of master plan that we developed together, we had sort of the football field slated for 2024. If this ESSER fund work pans out, some of this can then move forward earlier into 2023, perhaps.
And part of our thinking and logic on this is that we will have to utilize these ESSER funds before 2023. And so, you know, again, you know, looking to pull things forward, then to save our sinking fund, to do things that are just as costly and maybe a little sooner. We could do them a little closer up front, such as parking lots and things like that.
Mr. Garland, I don't know if you remember, we had an inspection done on our football field, I think in 2017. and we didn't pass that inspection, and it was temporarily shut down. And so to keep that open for our students, there was an expenditure. It was a temporary Band-Aid. And I believe we talked about the life of that Band-Aid being about 5 years. So, and that was in 2017. So as we're getting to the end of that, just to be mindful that that's on the radar and that we never end up in a situation like that again. Yes,
Well, what caused that issue was we had a severe rain and one of the pipes in the football field came apart. Ever since then, every year, we have had our GMAX testing, and we have hired them to come out and do a full inspection on our field. Now, we have passed every year, but every year they tell us that we have been gifted this remarkable field that now is about 5 years past its life.
wow,
So we do know that, and we
Okay.
want to move forward. But we have done our due diligence on making sure that each year, one, it's safe for concussion, that's what
Yeah.
GMAX is, and two, that all the seams and all the little tears and the crumb is added to make it safe for our students.
thank you. Are there any other questions from board members? Ms. Evans, do you have any questions? Ms. Evans, do you have any questions? I'm not
No,
even-
I'm fine. Thank you.
Okay, any more? Okay, seeing none, thank you again for being with us. We appreciate that update.
Thank you for
And
having us.
thank you, Mr. Garland. Next, we have report of the superintendent. Ms. Wester had the bills for payment removed.
I think it's been brought up a couple of times about expenditures and things of that nature. I was just looking at the register for 10-5 to 10-19, and I'm looking at the legal bills for, looks like we've paid out, it's like $9,000 here. I'm not sure where how long the invoices have been in there or when they're from. But I think we need to kind of look at some invoices to see why we're paying almost $9,200 a month for legal. That to me doesn't sound right. It's not good. When
Okay.
you look at everything that's going on in terms of how many times we're reaching out to legal, and if everything is being shared with, us as a board too. I know you have a right to go out and ask questions, but to make sure that we're getting the feedback, and we need to be conscious. We're talking about being judicious, watching the budget, saying it's for our kids.
Right,
That's
so,
just one payment right there. I'm not sure,
okay. So again, and we will discuss that, I do want to remind the board that on the check register, the bills for payment, they come to us for goods and services already received. So the board does not have the authority to deny payment for things already received. As far as the legal expenses, yes, that amount is equal to approximately 1% of our monthly expenses. And given all of the things that the district is facing, those legal fees act more as a proactive insurance policy than just running up unnecessary expenses. And I'm assuming we're looking at the one from Miller Johnson. We also have other firms where last school year we paid Troon nearly $200,000 in legal fees, and Collins Blaha approximately $90,000 for one single event. So although the numbers seem high, and they are high, they are part of the operating costs of the district.
I understand that. And I understand that sometimes there are some that's higher because we have lawsuits going on and that nature. I do understand that.
These aren't lawsuit related though, just so you know.
That's what I'm about to say.
Right.
That's where I was getting at. I don't think these are lawsuit related. That's why it's when I look at these every, you know, every month, every 2 weeks, we're looking at them, I'm like, this is adding up from like, you know, just going back 2 months. You're looking at almost like $20,000 or more, and I'm just guesstimating, because I don't have numbers in front of me. I'm just saying it just seems really, really high. You know, that we need to start being good stewards over what we have,
Right.
because that's what we're talking about, being good stewards over what we have. And we're doing all these investigations and looking into practices and stuff. I hope we're not just looking into this year, but also looking into like last year's audit and things of that nature, so we see where it all comes from.
Absolutely. And so, again, anything lawsuit-related I did not name. Troon was district counsel, though, anything lawsuit-related, as you review the check register, you'll be able to see that under Plunkett and Cooney. That's lawsuit-related. Everything else is the functioning of the district and part of operating expenses.
Madam
Ms.
President?
Kennard?
Yes. Is there any way that we can get at some point, get a comparison report, expenditure to actual, and pull that piece out so that we can have percentage ratio?
Yes.
By, we can do it monthly or we can do it by quarterly? So
Yes.
that we can have a clear picture of what that is.
Sure, and
Okay.
Ms. Kennard, yeah, we can do that, and I know that every year when the budget is presented, we realize that we always exceed, our legal fees exceed what was budgeted for, and we need to go back and revise that. There are different components, different firms for different things, but yes, we can do that. Mr. McNatt, if you can just make a note of that for us so we can get legal fees and also comparisons for what they're for and in previous years, because this has been a board concern for multiple years. So, well, our legal fees have been a concern for multiple years because it has exceeded that which we budget for. So, okay. There was nothing else removed from the consent agenda, so there is nothing to discuss. The bills for payment, as I have stated, those are debts that we owe for goods and services already received. And the Board of Education does not have the authority to deny payment for them. If there is a concern, then we would need to schedule a workshop to address it for situations going forward. Ms. Terrell?
Thanks. I do know that one of the concerns has been, and it's been brought up once before at the table, is the coordination of when the attorneys have been contacted and by board president and actually relaying that information to the board members. And I would like to request a breakdown of the payments for each firm that we're using, and with an explanation as to what they're being billed for, because of what I just stated. I'd like to see the comparison in that, not necessarily from years past, because we have had instances where the necessity was there from previous years, and there have been a great volume. But things like contacting the attorney, and the superintendent has also contacted the attorney about the same issue, contacting the attorney to concerning contracts when that has already been handled here at the table, things like that. So I am requesting a copy from Miller Johnson, from Troon Law, a detailed breakdown of exactly what are the expenditures so far.
Noted, we can get that, that's all on the invoices. Ms. Kennard?
Madam President, I just want to add to that, to Trustee Terrell. When the firms send the invoices to the district for payment, they do have a breakdown of that information per the invoice, and it's documented by date. And the thing of it is that over the years, I know when we asked for it and talked about that previously, it was submitted in a form where it couldn't be easily separated out. So you might want to ask for it to be sent in the form of a document where it could be sorted, and maybe the format, because it's in a PDF,
Sure.
confidential and is restricted, so have restrictions on it where you can't break it down. So that also can be a detailed report with the recommendation to the summary, if you know what I'm saying. If you
Sure.
want me to get more detail with it later, I can. So it'll support the summary, okay, to the findings in terms of whether we're doing it on a monthly or quarterly basis with the finance reports.
Okay, maybe what we can do is, we can just have that be a quarterly board report that's given to us.
Could the-
For it.
No, we're
There-
gonna get it now, I understand that,
Yes.
but ongoing, so we don't wait till we get to a point where we
Yeah.
need to review, that way we
Right.
can be
Yeah,
monitoring.
get them, get them.
But we
what
will
need
get them now, yes.
And then moving forward.
A copy of the invoices.
Right,
Yes.
copy of the invoices.
A
and
straight
then-
up copy of the invoices will show it without
Yeah.
going into a
Yep.
spreadsheet, just
Yeah.
a copy of the invoices.
Okay,
Support and moving
Noted.
forward, that was one of the reports that was on the list, that most boards get.
right,
Okay,
correct.
moving forward, we just haven't gotten to that point where we got those types of things.
Okay, so,
I am specifically asking for, over the last year, a breakdown. And I know that that can be obtained, and the information that I would be interested in wouldn't be considered confidential. It should be a matter of record.
right. So are you talking about you want it in the format that Dr. Edmondson provided to you in August? And then from August on to this date, where there was the invoices and it listed who was contacted and by whom and for what purpose? Okay, so that's just a copy of our invoices then? Okay. If that is the only question for the bills for payment, we will get that information. Again, the bills are for goods and services already received, so the requests are noted. We do have a duty to pay the bills though, so since we have discussed this, I move.
I got one more question. Because I'm just going by what Dixon Consultants contract was that it was gonna be on an as-needed basis. Since he's here on a day-to-day basis, can't we change that from $150 an hour? Since he's in that interim position, that sometimes you say that he's in the interim position. I'm just looking at dollars and cents now when we're talking about being fiduciary and
Okay,
over the money.
so Ms. Wester,
And it's just a question.
right, and so what you are asking would be proposing an amendment to the contract.
Yeah, 'cause
So
I'm looking at
we can,
$3,500,
Right.
$5,000.
so again, and that's something we can revisit right now. We can't go back, we have to pay for goods and services
I-
already received.
I understand.
But noted, yes, we
I
can,
understand what goods and
Okay.
services are. I'm
so we
saying moving
can,
forward.
you want to go forward and, okay. And
Yes.
that would have to be acceptable to both parties. I will say that, well, I'll talk about the as needed later, I spoke with the auditor. But right now, I move that the Board of Education approve the bills for payment as submitted by the Business Office Consultant, Mike Dixon, in the amount of $475,521.86. Is there support?
Support, Kennard.
Moved by Piles, supported by Kennard. Madam Secretary?
Bergeron,
No.
Robert, yes. Piles,
Yes.
Terrell,
No.
no.
Said Terrell.
No.
Piles,
Yes.
Wester,
No.
Was Kennard called?
That's,
I'm sorry, Ms. Evans.
that's everyone.
Did you call Kennard? You didn't call Kennard
Yes, I did. I got
for
Kennard.
bills for payment? Oh, yes, okay.
No, she didn't call me, I didn't respond. No. She did not call me, I didn't respond.
Fine.
So, Ms.
Kennard, yes.
Thank you.
So,
Kennard, yes.
so the motion to pay our bills failed, 3-3. We will have to, look into what that means legally. Next, we have report of the interim superintendent, Mr. McNatt, with district updates.
Yes, I have three things to share with you. The first is regarding dates. There are two key dates coming up in the near future. The first is that there is no school for students on November 2nd. It will be a professional development day for certified staff. And then Friday, November 5th, marks the end of the first marking period. And then I'm very pleased to share with you that on point number 2, we have received 33 boxes of books from the Toys for Tots literacy program and the UPS store initiative. So it's quite impressive, and curriculum department and central office is handling that. And then the third is, recently, we have secured a donation from the nonprofit organization, the Storehouse. The district received a very significant supply of PPE. 500 cases of Lysol wipes with a retail value of approximately a little over $17,000, and 500 cases of Equate hand sanitizer, retail value of approximately about $31,500. Okay, all it cost us was a U-Haul and some gas for approximately $350. And I want to give the credit to the gentleman who was able to discover this and organize this and went and got it with his staff. So congratulations, Bill Garland. Thank you very much. And that's all I have with the district update. And then moving on in your packet for the school nurse position.
There's a back slide. There's a back, you don't know. I'm sorry, I got you. I thought that was action, I apologize.
So there's a school nurse position for your future consideration. It would be geared towards the pre-K through 8th grade. So, and we're still working on collecting the salary. Most of this would come from the funding for this. You would pay for general education funding, and then it would be reimbursed with Medicaid funding, so.
Mr. McNatt, is that reimbursement with Medicaid funding, is that ongoing, or is that just a pandemic provision?
No, it's ongoing. It's been the history for that position.
Thank you.
May I continue?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
So next on the agenda is also for your information is MESB member recognition. They have recognized their members throughout the state of Michigan for those who have reached the next level of their certification. And it's been brought to my attention that we have 2 on the board. Vice President Kennard, it's my understanding you have already received your certificate. And so that is for the award of merit. So congratulations to you. And then the second one is for the Master Platinum Award. It's for the level 6 of level 7. And this one goes to, certificate achievement goes to Debbie Piles.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, and then the next are action items.
Yes. So the first, action item is for the board to approve the job postings for a human resources director, an accountant, and an executive director of early childhood through K through 12. Okay, Mr. Hanson, I'm asking you again to please stop shouting out. We will have public comment. Is there a motion on the floor? Is there a motion for this? Ms. Gudson?
Move that the Board of Education approve the posting of the following positions. Number 1, Director of Human Resources.
I'm sorry, Ms. Evans, I couldn't understand you. Would you say that again, please?
Move that the Board of Education approve the posting of the following positions. Number 1, Director of Human Resources. Number 2, Accountant. Number 3, Executive Director of Early Childhood. The presented job postings are submitted for board approval. The posting for the accountant position is not presented in this board packet. It will be forthcoming prior to the board meeting. For the accountant, there is no change in duties. The salary is to be discussed. General fund, budget implications.
I'm sorry, Ms. Evans, you broke up. And so, okay, Mr. Hanson, please stop yelling out.
Would you like me to reread the motion?
Yes, please, you're breaking up a little bit. Do you have the motion? Okay, you can't complain about not being able to hear if you're yelling out. She doesn't need to be here. Ms. Evans, continue, please. Mr. Hanson, if you yell out again, you will have to leave the meeting. We need to conduct business. Ms. Evans, please read the motion
Move that the Board
again.
of Education approve the posting of the following positions. Director of Human Resource, Accountant, and Executive Director of Childhood. The rationale is the job postings are submitted for board approval. The posting for accountant position is not presented in the board packet. It will be forthcoming prior to the board meeting. For the accountant, there is no change in duties. The salary is to be discussed. Budget implications, general fund.
Moved by Evans, is there support?
Support.
Moved by Evans, supported by Terrell. Oh, Kennard, I'm sorry. Supported by Kennard. The floor is open for discussions if any board members have comments, questions, concerns. Mr. Bergeron.
Yes, I just received an email, a copy of an email that was sent out by you, Ms. President, in July, asking people for support of not hiring more people in the central office. Now, this is coming, I'm assuming, through the superintendent, so therefore, you must have approved these positions. Why is it good now and it wasn't good back in July?
Okay, so in response to that question, in July, we were looking at newly created positions that had been posted and people hired, but the board had not approved the newly created position nor the salary, and they were being presented as being paid with ESSER funding. These are existing positions that people have vacated that are necessary to post for the functioning of the district. There is not a hire taking place right now. These positions need to be posted for a minimum of 2 weeks. Ultimately, the board would have to approve the hire, so no one is being hired. But short answer to your question is these are not newly created positions like we had in July. These are existing positions and the salaries are remaining the same. Ms. Lester?
We talked about this, about the director of instruction. trying to get it posted, and it was a comment made that we couldn't do it because things were changing.
No,
We want-
the director of
There-
instruction couldn't be posted because the salary range had been changed and had not come to the board, and the description removed grants which had not been approved by the board. So this posting has grants back in it with the salary range that was approved as presented to us in the, Jeffrey Ramberg report. Which was the salary consistent with what Dr. Edmondson had posted last fall, according to that salary.
Okay, we want to post positions. We want to, the positions will get posted. Then you're going to have applicants. When will Dr. E be back to do the interviews?
Right. So, okay, so right now, the motion before the board is approval to post these positions. We are not at interviews. The application period is, I don't know, 2 to 3 weeks. So right now, the motion is to approve these jobs to be posted. We can approve the jobs to be posted, or the interim superintendent can hire temporary employees, whatever the board prefers. But right now, the motion is to post the positions. Mr. Hanson.
I received a call from you, Madam President, on my way from work up here, asking if I was wanted to consider the HR person. And my response to you is that I don't think that it's appropriate, and that was removed from the agenda. I know now that the reason that it was removed from the agenda is because Ms. German is not here, and it would not have passed. Here we are visiting these postings. I feel like we would not have vacancies. We would not have vacancies if it weren't for some of the actions of board members. I feel like the posting of these positions would be Dr. Edmondson's opportunity to do when he returns. And again, we need to know when he will be able to return.
Thank you. So in response to that, Mr. Rell, I received notice from Ms. German today in a text message at 5:59 that she would not be able to make it to the meeting. I called you prior, as I called all the board members, and as I expressed that we had a candidate. I do not know him personally. I didn't want it to appear as if I had any agenda in pushing that person through. So my question to the board members individually was, are there any concerns or hesitation about the action item tonight so that we could conduct our meeting with civility? And I talked to all board members, and you expressed that you didn't think it was right. So I made a motion to amend the agenda. I was confused because you voted no on that, and I thought I was factoring in your feedback. I apologize if I misunderstood. So that hire is a temporary position, which we are not moving through with tonight. That is different from posting these, which requires a period of time to be posted, okay? Seeing no,
Madam
yes, Ms.
President,
Kennard.
with the proposed for posting, usually when we're posting jobs, they're posted out there for a period of time. We're talking about anywhere from 2 weeks to whatever. So, interim superintendent, can you elaborate on the reasoning for bringing forth? I know you had to have some type of conversation with your focus on posting now. I do know in most situations in administrative operations, these are serious positions that's vacant, and they became vacant after we went through the voting period from the previous, when we were looking into filling those positions. So what is your rationale in behind bringing this before the board today?
So that the district can continue to move forward. Typically, you're right, it is approximately about 2 weeks for the posting, 2 to 3 weeks. But because of the current situation the district's in, if you look at the postings, I put a deadline of November 29th. So it's out there for at least 4 weeks. Then the team, and it's not just one person, but there's been practice that the team, such as the cabinet and other certified staff, would go through and review the applicants. So you're looking for at least 5 weeks before you would even call someone in for an interview.
And also, who's considered on the cabinet that will be going through the
The cabinet consists of the
yeah,
directors of
central
the
office?
district.
And
Yes.
are there any principalships, administrators at the school level are part of that?
They are not a cabinet, but they would be a part of the process.
Okay.
Thank you, Ms. Kennard. Okay, so seeing no further board member questions, Ms. Evans, will you please call the vote on the action item to post positions, to post only, no, not hire, post positions for the Human Resources Director, the Accountant, and the Executive Director of Early Childhood through K Instruction?
Lester,
No.
Kennard,
Yes.
Bergeron. No. Terrell,
No.
Evans, yes. Piles,
Yes. Motion fails. Next, we have an action item for the Wayne Risa Master Service Agreement, the Computer Consortium Services. Is there a motion?
Madam President,
Yes.
recommended motion, move that the Board of Education approve the 5-year renewal of the Wayne Regional Educational Services Agency Service Agreement for Computer Consortium Service effective July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2026, per the fee schedule presented in the agreement. In the agreement is attachment C, where RISA Computer Consortium fee schedule, MyStar Smart Transportation. July 21 to 22, estimated FTE cost $51,285.64. Second year, July 22 to June 23, $52,304.56. July 1, 23-24, estimated fee $53,347.74. July 24 to June 2025, estimate $54,415.18. July 1, 2025 to June 30th, 2026, estimated cost $55,506.88. Total cost $266,860. The rationale, the presented document is a 5-year renewal agreement for the Wayne Risa Computer Consortium, which is the MyStar Student Information System, Smart Business Information System and Transportation, the Information Systems and Internet Access, not including connectivity to the Wayne Risa. The budget applications is a general fund. And in the board packet, we had exhibits from the Wayne County Risa Master Service Agreement, Computer Consortium Services, July 1, 2021 to June 30th, 2024.
Thank you, Vice President Kennard. Moved by Kennard. Is there support? Support by Piles. The floor is open for discussion. Mr.
I don't understand this being a relatively new board member, but to spend $266,000, I want to know from somebody here, is this a good amount of dollars for a good service that we're receiving? Or couldn't we use that if we're doing computer work? Is that what they're doing? Giving us computer work and taking care of the fees?
No. So we'll let Mr. Cooper answer that. This is a renewal. So Mr. Cooper, you have the floor.
This is our consortium deal that every district in Wayne County basically signs with Wayne Riza to help with our MyStar, which is our student information system, our grade book, attendance policy, everything there along with it. They help support the maintenance of it. They house it themselves. It's all the services basically that Wayne Riza provides us as a district. Everybody goes to it, and it's based on our FTEs with it. So that's why they're expecting a yearly increase, with it. So that's why it kind of goes up every year, as Ms. Kennard has stated in the pricing. So this is something that we need to be able to function.
This is our day-to-day.
Correct.
This is our day-to-day operations in terms of our students for attendance, grades, and all that. So it's day-to-day.
Does that satisfy your question, Mr. Bergeron? Did you have-
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Seeing none, Madam Secretary, will you please call the vote?
Bergeron? Yes. Piles?
Yes.
Lester?
Yes.
Well?
Yes.
Hard?
Yes.
Evans?
Evans, what was your vote?
Yes.
Motion carries. Next, we have report of the finance consultant, Mr. Mike Dixon with Dixon Public Consulting. And we will receive a finance and audit update. So, Mr. Dixon, if I may, before you start, I would like to inform the board. I received a call from our auditor when I was on my way in today, returning the call, letting us know that our audit will not be complete by November 1st. We are looking at a December 1st completion date. When he came in and originally started submitting requests the beginning of September, he said that we were not prepared to start the audit, but he said that he is confident. He's been in touch with Sandy Gutenschwager and Mr. Dixon, and confident that what they are doing for our district, that we will have it completed by December 1st. So, Mr. Dixon, and just hold, if you would just hold your comment till the end. I just wanted to, because I saw in here it's a finance and audit update, and I just received that from the auditor on the way in. So I wanted to share. Mr. Dixon, you have the floor.
Well, thank you. Do you have any questions on the audit update?
Is your mic on, sir?
I guess it is. That's basically the audit update. We won't make the November 1st deadline, and we're pretty comfortable that we'll get to December 1st. So with that, let's take a look at a budget update real quick. Now, what you have in front of you, and for the people back here, this is really, really busy, okay, in a sense. And what I want to do is kind of introduce you to something that allows you to do budget updates on a pretty regular basis by just changing assumptions and watching what happens to the bottom line. So I'm going to take you through it real quick. If you go across the top up here, you'll see the foundation allowance, okay? And every year that kind of goes up a little bit, not nearly what it should be in relationship to inflation, but it's, if you go all the way across to 2021, 22, it's $9,012. In 16, 17, it was $8,551. The next column is your FTE count, not column, I'm sorry, row. And that started in 2016, 17 at 2907, and it's down to about 2379, at least on the preliminary for this year. Okay, so that's an indication, if you look at that line, that your enrollment is trending down, and on a pretty regular basis, it's going down a little bit. All right, so then the next we have is the beginning fund balance. That's next line. Okay, to that we add the revenues and other. Okay, from that we subtract the expenditures and other. We get an excess of revenue over expenditures down at the bottom, towards the bottom. And you'll see that being $734,803 back in 16, 17. And if you go to 2021, 22, the adopted, it's about 6,000. We adopted the budget at 649, 689. What we submitted to the auditors is a prelim. Catch that word, prelim. That number should move from 649 to about $1,073,000. Okay, so that's going to improve the fund balance a little bit. If you notice, as you go across the excess of revenues over expenditures year after year, you had one year in 18, 19, and maybe 19, 20 where you were wobbling a little bit, but otherwise you've been in pretty good shape, reasonably pretty good shape. All right, so then you come to the ending fund balance. That started at $3.6 million back in 2016-17. If the estimate for the preliminary, well, it was budgeted to be $6,093,000. If the estimate holds true on the preliminary trial balance and general ledger we submitted to the auditors, it should be about $6,517,000. Just for your information, the FB, the fund balance, is a percentage of expenditures. Okay, is a percentage that is gradually increasing, and that is good. Too many people there. And then you have a number that I just throw in there. It's called the surplus deficit per pupil. All right, and that deficit, that surplus is increasing. All right, so when we come down, we take a look at the estimated revenues down here at the bottom, towards the bottom. These are where you can play what-if scenarios throughout the year. I'll leave this with you for somebody else to use if they want to. And we know a couple of things right now, at least on a preliminary basis. Okay, so we know that we lost about 202 students, and that cost us about $1,823,000. So as you go across the line, you'll see that that $1,823,000 is in parentheses. It's going to be subtracted from the revenues that are being pushed forward. The state aid allowance was a per pupil increase of about $108, and that was $261,000 to the good. You go to the bottom line, and the adjusted revenue is a minus $1,561,798, just on what we know right now. Okay, and this is very preliminary. So if you go up to the top and you subtract that out in the projected column, the very last column there, you notice that we moved to a slight deficit for the year. All right, we had a projected fund balance of about $1,073,000, and that $1.5 million adjustment just on enrollment pushed us to about a $485,000 deficit. Reduced the fund balance by $485,000. Okay, so one of the nice things about this worksheet is if you go to the bottom, you see the estimated expenditures. There's all sorts of expenditures that you can throw in there and adjust, and it allows you to play what-if scenarios, okay? And you can go back up to the top and almost see immediately what the impact's going to have on that will have on the district. Okay? It's quick and easy, short and concise. Okay, so back to, if we go to the next tab, please. One of the things that we were worried about was the ESSER funding. Okay, so if you see that last column there, now it's changed to 2021-22 projected less ESSER funding. Now, this is a hypothetical situation, so don't get anxious here. When we left, this year we're projecting, a slight deficit, about $485,000. The fund balance would be just about 6 million, just a little over 6 million, all right? When we look at ESSER funding and we take out of the ESSER funding, let's just say it stops right now, and we take the wages and benefits out of that, for ESSER 1 and 2 last year, that was $1,556,000, okay? That would mean that if the ESSER funding were to stop right now, we'd have to roll that back into the general fund and/or make $1,556,000 worth of adjustments. You can see what it does to, up at the top, you can see what it does to the fund balance. It knocks it back $2 million. And the 6.5 million that we're looking for is now about 4.4. Okay? So, and then I just put in there on the side, the number of pupils needed is about 172 to make up that new pupils in addition to what we currently have, to make up that $1.5 million, just under, or 1,566,000. All right? That's just for your information. ESSER money is still here, but as we throw more and more of the ESSER funds into, if we're doing that, into wages and benefits, then that's just an example of what will happen at some point in time when that stops, because it's going to roll back out at us. Okay, obviously, this is really early to be doing something of this nature, but it's a quick one-page summary sheet that can be very helpful in the future in making various estimates on expenditures and so on. We don't know what the actual FTE count is. We're just still dealing with an estimate for 21-22. And final audited figures are what we're going to need to update a couple of columns there, and then we can push out again with some more information when we have that. Okay, that's all I have. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Dixon. Are there any questions from board members for Mr. Dixon? Ms. Terrell, you were going to speak first. Do you have something now?
I do. I was just looking for the email that was sent out. First of all, there was a comment on not being able to complete the audit by November 1st. And we received an email October 21st from President Piles. And this is, actually the email was from Ms. Claire, which has indicated that she would be happy to step in and that and to work with what's needed in order to have our audit completed on time. She actually indicated she would do it at no cost to the district. She wants to help. She wants to help, and she says that she's aware of how everything works here at the district because of her previous time here, and she's willing to step in so that we can have our audit completed by November 1st. And I want to know why we're not utilizing this resource.
Okay,
If I could-
I will answer that. Are there questions regarding this report? Because I do have an answer for that, because I spoke with the auditor today, and I do have an answer.
That's my first question.
Okay, so in response to that, when I received that email, I forwarded it to Mr. McNatt and to Mike and to Mr. Garrett. And today was when I was able to get in touch with our auditor. And I asked that question because Ms. Claire indicated that when she, in that email, when she left at the audit, she had almost everything finished for the audit. And so she's surprised that we aren't finished yet. And so she offered to come back and work for free for the district. So I forwarded that on. That's not my call, but I forwarded it to central office. But today when I talked to our auditor, and when he told me that we would not be finished by November 1st, but likely December 1st, that was the first question I asked him. I said, Ms. Claire resigned on August 11th was her last day, And I received an email from her stating that the audit, she almost had the audit finished. So when you came in a month later at the beginning of September, you told me that we weren't even prepared to begin the audit. So please explain to me that discrepancy. And he said that he cannot say why Ms. Claire thought that the audit was almost finished. He can only say that when he came in, our records were in such disarray, and the request that he gave to the finance department could not even be completed because we were not prepared to begin the audit. He said that it is possible that, he said that it is possible that she may have been talking about from a, like, just the cash component, but he said he couldn't speculate as to that. But he did state that when he came in to start the audit at the beginning of September, second week of September, that we were not prepared to even start at that time. But he did state that having Mr. Dixon and having Ms. Gutenschwager back is making a lot of headway, and that he's confident then that we will have that wrapped up by December 1st.
If we have an opportunity to complete our audit by November 1st, and this is someone that I trust Ms. Claire. I think that she has the integrity. I think that she, especially when she's offering these services at no cost, I really do believe we should consider that so that it is completed on time.
Okay, so we can absolutely consider anything that the board would like to consider. As far as working for free, I don't know the legalities of that. I don't know that we can have volunteers. I do not know if we can have volunteers have access to our system, so there would have to be a hiring if that's what the board decided to do. Again, I don't know what capacity she would function in. That would have to be explored by central office, because like I said, she thought that the audit was almost finished. She said she had it almost finished, and the auditor said we weren't even prepared to start. So there is a discrepancy in understanding, but the board can consider that.
When will we consider it? Now is the time to consider it.
Can I ask that? Can I just jump in here for a second?
Okay, so hang on 1 minute. And again, I'm sorry, Mr. Dixon. So again, before you answer that, Mr. Dixon, if we can go back to this report just so we stay on track. The information that Mr. Dixon gave us, does anyone have any questions about that? If there are none, then we will go on to discuss this component. Ms. Evans, do you have any questions about the report that Mr. Dixon gave?
No, I do not.
Okay. Mr. Bergeron, do you have questions about this report? Okay.
I'm looking at this report wondering what the if you hired this gentleman, okay, to do what, our accounting?
No.
But then we have auditors in here also? But we're going with, I don't understand. Who are we, I just don't understand what's going on. I've been in a lot of organizations, okay, and you have an auditing firm, and then you have an accounting firm. This is a contracted person. I don't know if you know, if he's truly our accountant, but if he is, if he's our accountant, we're way over what you wanted to spend before.
He's not our accountant, Mr.
What's
Bergeron.
that? Well, what's he doing?
He's comparable to, you've heard us speak of Don Sovey, the consultant who we brought in.
I
Mike
don't know who
Dixon
Don Sovey is,
Okay,
so.
so
I'm
I'm
looking at-
telling you,
Yeah.
the consultant who we had in before, Don Sovey, Mike Dixon is consulting, oversight, managerial. Then under Don Sovey was Jewel Claire, who did the day-to-day operations like a finance director. So when Jewel resigned, Sandy Gutenschwager is now doing the day-to-day operations as a finance director would. The third hire was Sandy, I forget her name, P, who, yes, thank you, Pollock, who we hired temporarily after Mr. Baker resigned to do the accounting detail.
Okay, and Mr. President, with all due respect, we have an accountant, we have auditors. We wouldn't bring in another accountant to help, and this is what I'm having trouble with. You wouldn't bring in to help Jewel out, okay, because we can't spend no more money in the central office. But now all of a sudden, this gentleman comes in, it's an open checkbook. You know, to spend that kind of money, we got accountants in Romulus that could put these numbers together, with all due respect. You know, I just
So-
I don't understand why we're spending so much money, okay, on auditors and accountants and that, when we couldn't even bring in our own accountant.
Okay, Mr. Bergeron, I do not recall Ms. Claire coming to the board for an accountant or any motion or action item requested for an accountant. I don't, and if we have that, then you can remind me after the meeting. Right now, do you have a question on this? Okay. Okay, so, Mr. Dixon, go ahead.
Oh, I guess, that's kind of a moot point. We submitted the trial balance in the general ledger to the auditors. I don't know what you do. The only thing we're doing, one of the issues that we've got is the audit team disbanded in September and were reassigned because we weren't ready for them, all right? So they're trying to pull that back together now so that they can deal with us. And that's what they are doing. So they have our adjusted trial balance in our general ledger. I don't know what she would do. We're just waiting for the volleyball game with the questions back and forth and clarification and things of that nature. So I don't know what you do.
So at this part, the reason we have a wait is we're waiting on the auditor to come back with the team to do their part.
Well, they have to, first of all, I had a conversation with them today too. They got 28 districts they're trying to push through November 1st, okay? And what they've got is they're trying to pull them together, and they hope to get us something back by Friday or Monday on what some of their questions would be and the directions they're gonna have. They still have some testing to do, all right? So when they get to that point, then we can, then we'll deal with it. I don't know what the questions are gonna, I can imagine.
Ms.
what they're gonna
Wester,
be.
what happened was we were scheduled to begin our audit at the beginning of September.
I understand that. I understand.
When the firm came in.
I understand
No,
that, Debbie.
but when
I
the firm
understand that
came
part.
in, we weren't ready.
I
So they had to disband.
Yeah,
So now we have to get back
I
in.
understand how that goes. I
disband.
understand that part. My next question is, I understand we weren't ready, so they had to go do ABC. Now they gotta come back to us. The question is, there's a possibility that it may not even go to December 1st in terms of being completed, correct? There's a possibility that it can be done prior to December 1st.
I hope it's done before December 1st.
Well, I'm just saying, you're going all the way out to 30 days, and I know we weren't prepared. I'm saying, we have that, there's
Well, I
a
think
possibility that we can be done before then,
Yeah.
correct?
I think it's gonna be the 15th or so. Okay. Yeah. That's what I hope. That's what we're shooting for.
I mean,
It's all gotta come together. That's the issue, and I'm not trying to suggest that the auditors are at fault here. That's just what happened.
Right, but we have the opportunity for a person that was here, that has been here, that knows the system, to be able to come in and apply and give that extra help that could make it go faster. We have that opportunity. We have somebody that wants to come in for free versus paying $150 every hour.
I guess the point is that I don't know what she would do. Would she comment on the schedules that Sandy prepared? If the auditor has a question on them?
So, Ms. Wester, I'll have to get more information from the auditor, but when I asked that, he said he did not see a benefit to that, to bringing her in. He said that was not what we needed. The adjusted trial balance, the problem was that our records we could not start the audit. We just got the adjusted trial balance submitted. So, and what he said is it won't be ready by November 1st. He was hoping by Thanksgiving, but they said they can't commit to that, but they're looking at it will be done by December 1st. So yes, by December 1st would by definition mean prior to.
Yeah.
Reading her email that she sent on the 19th, she stated that she spoke with Sean previously It says, I also wanted to let you know, I told Sean that I would do the audit stuff on my own time for free, which lets me know that it was sent to Sean. Sean knew this prior to her sending you the email on the 19th. That's where there's a disconnect at, because we don't know how soon she talked to Sean, to where things is not being, being transparent and coming back. Once again, transparency.
I don't know what happened.
Okay, so again, this was forwarded. I will tell you what the auditor said. In that email we received, Ms. Claire believed that she truly believed that she had the audit almost finished when she left. The auditor came in a month later and said we weren't even prepared to begin. Today, when I asked him what's the discrepancy, he said he cannot say, but he said the audit was not almost finished, it wasn't ready to start, and perhaps from whatever lens she's looking at, she believed that, and I will never disparage Ms. Claire. She is phenomenal, and she worked hard for us. But she was not a school district finance director, and so therefore, the things she did for the ISD, she did some of that here, the other she was learning, but at this point, even though she believes it's almost finished and she could wrap it up, we aren't where she believes we are. But the board can still consider this. Ms. Kennard.
Madam President.
Yes,
So
Ms.
I guess
Kennard.
my question, so for clarification, when audits are done and the preparation for audits, it entails a lot of research and pulling information and documents together, which is normally done on a regular basis, so that when auditors come in, you can readily go to that information and put it together in terms of what they're looking for. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, and so what I hear you saying is that upon the departure of Ms. Claire, okay, those pieces of documentations and information was not available or could hands-on go to get, so that they could do what they needed to do to move forward with the audit and preparing it in a timely manner. Is that correct?
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, so if it wasn't done then, okay, all right, and she's saying that she thought this information was available for what they're looking for, because as you know, we don't know what auditors are looking for until they come in and they look for what they're looking for. That's when you find out what they're doing.
Yeah.
But if you have your information, if you have what you have in your trial balances, your balances and so forth, then it is more advantageous that you would have a successful audit. Is that correct?
Yeah, if everything's
Yeah.
tied out, you're gonna have a successful audit.
Exactly.
It
So
was
you're
not tied
saying,
out.
so starting out, we didn't have it, and so what the person thought who was handling that position, okay, and she may very well thought, but that's not what the auditors are looking for. The auditors was looking for something different from what she was saying that she had and thought she was at. Is that correct?
But, I mean, I don't know what she was thinking she was looking for, but there were no schedules, to my knowledge, even prepared, that would
Okay.
go to the auditors. The trial balance was a mess. You know, if you go back to, and I'm not into disparaging people either, but if you go back to, the Sovry report last March, where he referred to things as a train wreck, I mentioned to you at that point in time that leaving one person in accounting and correcting that over the next 6 months was highly suspect that they could pull it off.
And
She may have thought she pulled it off. I'm not saying she didn't, but she was nowhere close.
Okay, so what the auditors, so what you have now and what you're working with, you believe that what the auditors are wanting, because you've had conversations with them, you're now pulling the information together, and you're saying that it could be done in a timely fashion, probably before, because they have to do their rotation, and they're coming back around
Yeah.
to us. I understand that.
Yeah.
Okay.
They have what we would call, they're not gonna be final, they would have what we call our final trial balance for them to take a look at, test, and adjust. Now, the testing is, especially on the federal programs, is gonna be up significantly this year, because last year, all your programs failed. So they have to retest those two and then they have to test 2 new ones. All right? So that's where I get a little anxious about volume of things coming at us. I don't know what it's gonna be. So, I mean, I know that the testing on the federal program side is gonna be significantly greater from what they've told me. That the results of last year's tests are gonna have to be retested, and that they picked 2 new grants this year to test. So, I don't know what the questions are. I mean, we've got a trial balance that we believe is in pretty good shape, and so is the general ledger. There's a few things that we send them every day that just kind of adjust some things. The FID is, which is the financial information database that you submit to the state, is in very serious need of repair.
The FID is?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I have one more comment. I'm sorry. Miss Claire came in at a time when our office was in such a disarray. It looked like a cyclone went through there. When she came in here, I remember her telling us in 4 weeks, she cleaned up things and was able to get the FID done. She came in here and she had to redo things as it related to the grant codes and things of that nature to make sure that things are put into the right account. I mean, no one's talking about the previous person that was here. Everybody is
well, let me-
constantly saying that it was this person and that she left it in a shambles or whatnot. She inherited a disaster.
Yeah, hey, I want to
You
comment
know-
on that. You're correct there. This is not anything
but
that
it's
showed
all-
up when she
and,
was
and I
here.
understand, but you every time you speak, and it may not be done intentionally, but every time you speak and you say something about the department, it's that, well, Miss Claire didn't do this, and Miss Claire didn't do that. So it's,
When have I ever said she hasn't done this or done that?
you may not have said that she didn't do this, but the department is
Right,
in a
right.
shambles and it's this. But you gotta realize, and like I tried to tell you this before, she inherited that.
No, it's fine.
But it always just seems like well, Jewel did it. It was a disaster. When Sophie left here, your books are just a disaster. That's not what was said.
That's what Sophie said.
You know what? I'm gonna pull out Sophie's report
Yeah,
because that's
you
not
wanna
what
read
Sophie
that.
said.
You want to read it because that's exactly what you said. And you said you were lacking serious internal controls, but that doesn't matter. Back to your point, you're right. This didn't happen in a 6-month period of time. You've got more of an issue of what I said before. It's kind of like, I don't know what it is. It's kind of like a standard operating procedure or whatever that's kind of messed up. And we're just trying to get it straightened out.
Correct, and that's what people want to do. We want to get it straightened out, but we have to remember where it came from as to why it's taking so long to get it cleaned up and straightened out.
Well-
You can't,
Yeah.
you come in here sometimes, and like I say, it may not be intentional, but it's like you're chastising us, to say that you didn't do this, you didn't do that, you didn't have this, you didn't have that. When you're working with a skeleton crew, just like when Dr. Edmondson came in, there was no one. No one. There was no one. And they started to create and get the team together to start to put things so we can work together. Then you had people going out because they were ill. We have to remember, life is life. Things happen. And we cannot just sit here constantly saying this person, or you didn't do, or you didn't do.
Well, if you're thinking I'm referring to her, I'm not. I'm not referring to anybody that was in that department, but the department does have its challenges. And to say anything, and they've had them for a long time, okay? And if there was anything that would be of concern to me in my focus on trying to safeguard the assets, is trying to correct that over a period of time, and I did not see that. Okay, I do not see any attempt to correct it. So what you get is you end up with people that are overloaded, in a sense dumped on, with more work, you know. I've got this job that I'm doing, and the next thing I do them because somebody switched out. I've got to do their job, and then we hire somebody doing this person switched out, now I'm doing their job. At some point in time, things get discombobulated. When that happened, I don't know, but it's still there.
Thank you, Mr.
Oh,
Dixon.
you're welcome.
Next, we have a status report and update on the investigation with Mr. John Garrett. Mr. Garrett, the floor is yours.
Hello, Madam President. I don't have a written updated report. We've been working with Interim Superintendent Sean McNack. We're making progress, but we still need additional documentation. I would hope that at the next regular board meeting on November 8th, we'd have an updated written report. So we're making progress, and I hope to have the next November 8th have something for you, but nothing to report, no specifics to report today.
Thank you. Board members, questions?
Can I, we're doing an audit, you're looking at who are you interviewing? Are you just looking into files? Are you looking just not at this year? Are you going back and comparing to previous years?
I submitted a interim report that I think is on the website in terms of 21 transactions that we're looking into as to whether those should have been bid or not. And we have invoices. We're just trying to get more detail about that and determine whether or not there are some documents that reflect bidding that the law that was supposed to be followed was in fact followed. We're trying to get the detail for that. Right now, we don't know that.
The question is it this current school year? Are you taking it and looking at the previous years as well?
Just the school year. And
So
if you
it's
look at the report that I sent, that is what we're focusing on. In addition, we're looking at the IRS problems that the district has that appear to be more serious than what we originally thought. I think the revolving loan, the school revolving loan fund, I think has been resolved by Mr. Dixon. So we're looking at a number of areas, just of, again, business and finance issues as to what the problems are and trying to bring them to the board as to what problems are there and what are not there.
And it kind of goes back to my question to Mr. Dixon as it relates to when it happened and who was in charge of those particular items at that point in time. You know, to make sure that I work for a school district, so I understand what you're saying in terms of doing a PO or requisition to make sure it goes through, get paid, and the right person signs off on it to account for where the dollars and cents go. So I'm saying that to say, so if there's a requisition going in for a bid to get office furniture, did he or she follow that? If not, who was the person that was signing off on those requisitions to get those done? That's what I'm saying. So when we're looking at that, to make sure who the person was that was in that seat, that was okaying and was showing people how to do this. Because that's where we go back to the policies and procedures of, well, Ms. So-and-so said this is how we do this, and this is how I learned. So that's one of those procedural things that I was taught, and you continue to do it until someone corrects you on what the proper process is. So that's why I want to make sure that you're saying we're just looking at this year. It's not really, you know.
I mean, see, so some of the last.
So you're saying last year, he's saying just this year.
14, again, in your audit report, there were 14 areas of problems that were identified. In addition to that, there are IRS problems that's come to our attention, as well as the school revolving loan fund. Those are the areas that we've been focusing on, and right now we're trying to get onto the bidding issue. We're trying to get an understanding as to what the processes were and whether it followed the law or not.
So when I looked at your report, it says out of the 14, there's still 12 that's outstanding. If you have 14 findings that have been there consistently, if you go back and look at the previous audits that have been there, we've all been told that if you get 2 of them taken care of, you're making a step in the right direction. And that's all I'm trying to say. It still looks negative. There's still 12 of them there. I don't think it's all going to get fixed overnight.
Yeah, and look,
You know, just to
typically,
make
if you
sure we get our policies and our steps, like this is how we're gonna move forward to get those done.
No, with all respect, 14 significant problems with, from your auditor.
Yeah.
I've never seen anything close to that. If you get two areas that are identified as problems, that's significant.
Correct.
This is a serious problem we have
This-
here
this
in your business and finance.
It
as
is
Mr.
serious,
Dixon has
and it was
indicated.
brought to the attention for us to start it was brought out once. Once we got a new superintendent and he looked at that, it's like, whoa, you've had this for, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. So it's not like, you throw him out when he's trying to make the changes and doing that. But if you go back and you kind of look at our year to year, how when our finance director was there, it would seem like every year we changed what audit company was gonna do it compared to this one, so that, I'm gonna go to this one over here because he knows what we had last year. You understand what I'm saying? It just looks
I have
really
no
funny.
knowledge- I have no knowledge of that.
It just looks kind of funny when we're going back and forth over something that's been going on for years, and we have a person being punished for it that didn't do anything.
That's not.
Okay, so I do want to state, Ms. Wester, this goes back many years, many directors. This precedes my time on the board. So what we have is, yes, this goes back many years, many directors. Again, and the reason why we don't talk about people is because we are not investigating people. We are investigating our business practices that if we do not make significant changes now, the auditor says our district will not survive the short term. Therefore, how do we know that it's been ongoing, but that's why this extensive investigation process needs to take place. So it is no one's fault. It's not about fault. Fault and blame are past tense. We're talking about a district. Okay, whoever speaks out is going to have to be removed so we can conduct business. You will all have an opportunity to speak. Do you want facts or do you just want to be mad and unruly? Ms. Wester, I want us to not talk about fault because that's past tense. We're not talking, it's not Dr. Edmondson's fault. It's not fault. It is the way that the district, has been operating for many years, many directors. So when an auditor says it's bad business operations and you're going to collapse, we need to know what needs to be changed. So right now, Dr. Edmondson's not being investigated. No current or past employee is being investigated. Only our processes. That's why we're looking at right now, because that's what we haven't corrected or even known to correct. One thing that came out is that we actually have our cash handling processes, we have our purchasing processes, all in administrative regulations. We didn't even realize that the business office didn't know what the administrative regulations were that pertain to them. So what we learned from that is that's a communication problem. We need to make sure everybody has that and knows what it is. That's stuff that we're learning. The other thing is, I know this board, we all wanted an update from Mr. Garrick tonight. But again, there is a lot of fear that has come. There are people to be interviewed who, this isn't about a person, but we understand that people are nervous. So we want to be gracious and patient and not force people to talk. This is about our business practices, not a person. And that's why we're looking at right now, because what we're doing right now is put this district on the brink of collapse.
You said the auditor said, so we talked about doing this forensic audit that you said the finance company came up with prior to the auditor even coming in to do the audit. So you're saying now that the auditor said if we don't do this, we're on the verge of collapse. But the auditor wasn't here wasn't even scheduled to come in when we were talking about doing a forensic audit.
Correct. So the timeline was, it was brought to board members' attentions, 2 different board members, that there was a concern about credit card purchasing, and there was a concern about the district not following competitive bid. And actually, the concern about the district not following the competitive bid process was brought, that concern was raised by a district finance employee who brought that concern to legal. And so then when legal brought it back to me, and we also had a concern about credit card purchasing, that's where the forensic audit came from in August. After that, when we're getting into the audit, we weren't prepared to start. The auditor who's doing our regular annual audit said you weren't even prepared to start. If your district doesn't change their business practices, this is your norm. The district's not going to survive short term. That is why this investigation is going on. Not to point blame to anybody, but so that we survive going forward.
Okay.
That is past tense. We're not looking for blame past tense.
No. So I guess now we go back because you said it was 2 board members that brought the concern about the finances.
No, there were 2 outside people who brought concerns.
And then
to
you
board
said there,
members.
was someone in the finance department that brought the concern about the competitive
To
bid.
legal, yes.
So they took it to legal,
Yes.
but they had to go through someone to get to legal,
No, they
right?
did not. They went directly to legal.
Okay, so then legal came to you and said something.
Yes.
So here's another one of those where
No.
you didn't
Le-
share some of
I
this
did-
stuff with the
Legal
board.
came to me,
Uh-huh.
and at the same time, a board member came to me that somebody had come to them about the credit card purchases. So when legal came to me and told me about competitive bidding, I said,
Yes.
how do we fix this internally? That's why what was brought to us was the recommendation to do the forensic audit, going through legal to be protected by attorney-client privilege, okay? And clean this up internally without a circus. Well, that plan derailed. And now we're on the news, we've got people yelling because they are being told things that aren't true. And now the U.S. Department of Education is reaching out, wanting to get in here. We don't want that. We want to handle our business because it is no one's fault. It is years of bad business practice that we need to clean up now.
Correct. So Debbie, I'm just gonna go back to like our conversation was earlier in terms of transparency, to whereas we could have had a meeting where you made a phone call to this board member or to that board member to say, hey, this is XYZ, we're doing this, so that we're aware of where it all stemmed from. A lot of this, to me, looked like it just developed.
So, Ms.
You know,
Webster,
and-
we had a closed meeting where this came out, not the sources,
Right.
but that these
But-
concerns, we had a closed meeting, and we were told where it came from.
But even prior to that, I'm just saying before we had the closed meeting with legal, there's something, sometimes, you know, when you reach out to the board to get their decision, you know, that's one of those where I'm thinking, maybe I could have said X, Y, Z to you and said, hey, this is why they're gonna be coming in, what we're gonna do this for. It seemed like we were blindsided,
No,
coming in, and that's my opinion.
Right.
It
Well, here's
really
the
is
thing.
my opinion. It
Some-
looks like we're
right. Some
blindsided by a
things when you're
lot of
talking-
things that have come out.
When you're talking about competitive bidding and you're talking about federal funding and programs, that was best left to legal, who came in and talked to us, because we don't want to put stuff out there that we don't understand or that we don't have facts on, or that we could be potentially jeopardizing the district. That's why we did this under attorney-client privilege, and that motion to conduct the forensic audit passed 7-0. And now we've lost all of that. Because now it's just all out there, but we still want to find out what's going on in
Well,
here.
what,
and
what
clean it up.
actually made it out there is when the resolution was written and said that Dr. E was going on administrative leave.
But,
I think
but we're
that's what
talking-
really, I think that right there
Right.
is what really made it public, was because we put, there was that resolution, once, like I say, we were blindsided with that. So it did open up and brought it more to the surface for our constituents and our community stakeholders to say, what is going on? Why does he have to be out if it's about policy and procedure? It does. And like I say, it may not be meant that way, but it looked real shady.
well,
When
there,
and even to bring Mr. McNally in, it was like there was no conversation. It was like there was all these sidebar conversations going on
right.
to make
So-
this done.
So there weren't sidebar conversations. That resolution, 2 board members knew about that resolution. The finance chair and the board president. And it was to come for consideration, and then everything blew up from there, so we never had the discussion. But that's why I keep coming back to the paid administrative leave is not a discipline. It is simply to remove the obstruction so that we can get this investigation done, so we know what to correct. And maybe it will be beneficial when we have our audit presentation, and then we can have our auditor speak to things that can be spoken about.
If it was going to
But
be for
this-
consideration, it should have been worded a whole lot different than to say, I am bringing forth this resolution. It's how it got started to like, oh my God, because of something someone said, no, he's going to be disciplined. Yes, we say it's not discipline. We say it's not, you say it's not discipline, but it is discipline because he can't do his job. Yes, he's being paid. You know, yes, he's being paid. I would love to sit at home sometime, but I want to get back to work.
Right.
He wants to get back to work. If you look around and see what has happened in the last 5 weeks, it's been 5 weeks. You look and see what has happened. We're trying to do this investigation to save our district, but our district is falling by the wayside without the commander-in-chief here to make sure and let the staff know that their morale is up, that he's still here doing his job.
And the morale is crucial.
You know?
But first, if we don't have the strong financial foundation and good business operation practices, you know we can't function long-term.
Correct.
That's why, and we're fortunate we've made it this far.
But
This
why-
is years and years and years. However, in addition to that, their morale, let's just do the investigation. It is not on any person, it's to clean this up, and then we go forward.
We can finish the investigation. We can amend the agenda to make a motion to have our superintendent come back so that he can finish his job and get these positions posted so we can get new staff in here that are qualified to help, move the district forward once the investigation is over. We need the commander-in-chief. That's our commander-in-chief.
All right,
We need our commander-in-chief back, Debbie.
I hear you, Ms. West.
We need him back, and we need him back like last week back. We need him back. I'm gonna let Ms. Terrell speak.
So just to remind the board, because we have got off on a tangent, the agenda item that we are on right now currently is the investigation status report with Mr. Garrick. So please, if you have questions for Mr. Garrick, please ask those.
This is concerning the agenda item. And again, I'm going to go back to what Ms. Wester said. I'm looking at an email where Dr. Edmondson had pointed out that there were some financial issues that should be addressed. And the fact that he's not here, a lot of the questions could be answered if he were here. A lot of the questions could be answered if Ms. Claire were here. Previous finance director had an opportunity to pretty much skim by and not address the issues that we're talking about right now. And I do believe that we would be in a better place moving forward if we did bring back Dr. Edmondson, so that we can address these issues. He's been sitting in that seat. He knows what's going on with the district. When he tried to bring it out, he was told not to, according to this email. Do not disclose what is going on with the finances. And so he was trying to address it back some time ago, February 22nd. He was trying to disclose what's going on with the district.
So, Mr. Earl,
And would
that's
be
not what he
an
was
aid to
disclosing.
get, what did you
No.
just say?
No, it wasn't that we were disclosing what was going on. That was the day of the audit report that I sent that. And we had significant findings, but then there's also other things. And so I asked him, yes, I have a millage coming up. We have the transparency, the findings that get presented to the board. But then there were all of these sub-things, and I don't have the understanding to know what goes out there and what's extra. So I asked him, under that, and after that email, and when I called him and I said, I think you misunderstood. I said, I'm not saying to hide stuff. I'm asking what all has to be in a report, an oral report, and what does not. And Dr. Edmondson and I, that day, had a three-way call with the auditor to say, okay, here's what's going on. The report is done. The presentation is scheduled. And when we talked to him, he said, no, Ms. Piles, what I'm giving is exactly what you're talking about. What I was asking if we didn't have to give is all of the details of all of the departments, which the auditor said, no, we do not have to give.
I think
And so the
that
auditor
it is
continued-
I think that it's even more dangerous to omit a major part of the report.
No,
The
no
reality
part of the
is,
report was
our
omitted.
monies are good. That is not an issue. Our internal controls are terrible, but needs to be corrected. When we look to deceive or
Mr. Rowe,
omit,
there was no part of
then
the
we have
report
a potential
omitted.
greater
There
problem.
was no part of the report omitted.
I would never just do this. Having been a Super 4 and even watched other audits, I look to express to hear the findings uncovered.
Yes, and
He
that is
has
why I
wanted
called
to
him and
come
said,
in.
Dr. Edmondson, you misunderstood my question.
I
And that day, Dr. Edmondson and the auditor and I had a three-way conference call, and on that phone, the auditor said, no, Ms. Piles, what you are talking about is exactly what I'm going to present. I am not going to talk about your accountant, and I'm not going to go in and talk about the details of that. That's what I was asking. Did it not have to come out?
It is more dangerous to omit a major part of the audit
And
report.
no major-
That was
nothing-
Dr. Edmondson's
That's what he
statement.
said, but nothing was omitted.
I'm not finished.
Okay, nothing
not
was
finished.
omitted. Okay, this actually does not pertain to Mr.
It
Eric's
pertains
report.
to the report
It
that he's
doesn't re-
talking
it does-
about
no,
uncovering.
No, because.
It
Ms.
pertains
no.
to the part
Okay.
he's talking about uncovering.
Okay, so.
And your opinion on that is not gonna make me stop talking.
That's fine, but here's the thing. This is the update on the investigation. And now we're talking about an
We're
audit.
talking about the reason that the investigation cannot be complete is because Dr. Edmondson is not here. He was wanting to display this information and was told not to.
That is
He was
not true.
told not
That was
to.
back in February, and he and I and the auditor, and when the auditor gets here, we're gonna talk
Bring him
about
back,
that.
Debbie.
Yes.
Bring Dr. Edmondson back. You're saying he's not being punished.
Okay,
You're saying that he's not being punished. He is being punished by not being here. The district is suffering. The district is suffering. Point of order, bring Dr. Edmondson back. Point of order, bring Dr. Edmondson back.
Madam President.
That is the point of order. Bring Dr. Edmondson
That's not a
back.
point of
That's the
order.
point of order.
Madam President, point of order.
Yes.
The order on, the item on the table is the investigation status report, and the questions should be pertaining directly to that.
It is concerning the investigation report. The report can be completed if you bring Dr. Edmondson. I was talking, and both of you guys cut me
And you were given a
off.
lot of time.
You guys cut me off.
You were given a lot of time.
Madam President,
Okay,
the both of you should be focusing on the investigation status report.
I can't,
Okay, you should be focusing on the investigation status report. That was what was on the floor.
That is your opinion. My opinion is this board has told the superintendent not to display this information. Your person that brought the report indicates that they're still ongoing. If Dr. Edmondson were in his seat and he's not being punished, they could get those answers to those questions. Because he said here in this email, I want to bring it forth. Bring Dr. Edmondson back.
okay. So, that email, I will discuss that email with you because I know exactly which one it is, and we will talk about it. Next on the agenda, we have a report of the Director of Integrated
Madam
Technology.
President, I wanted to say something.
Okay, Mr. Bergeron, you did. You were the first one to speak on this topic.
Pardon me?
You were the first one to speak on this.
No, I wanted to speak on the last thing, because what I found out this weekend is that Clark Hill made a statement and put it on our website. Did not contact anybody on the board with this information. That's the communication problem you're having by bringing all these people in here and not communicating with us, Ms. Power. And that is not right. It's flat out not right. To have me get a email at a wedding Saturday night from Stacy Page saying this is what the superintendent did without him telling us, if I had the power, I'd fire him right now.
Okay, so Mr. Bergeron, that has been up there, and that was to, that was to clarify what the purpose of the investigation was. Those are not findings. Those are not, that's clear, only states what we're investigating.
So he can go out and say anything he wants to without telling us, okay, and we're paying him, okay, this coming through this board. That is not right.
That is what he reported that he's investigating.
That is not right.
Okay, so, okay.
And I don't care how you try to defend it, Mr. President, that is
I'm
not right.
Okay.
He is working for all of us.
So again, next on the agenda is the report of the Director of Integrated Technology, Mr. Cooper. And if you want to speak on your action item before.
You can read it.
Mr. Cooper, you have the floor.
Do you want to read the motion?
If you want to tell us about it, and then we can discuss it, or if there's a motion.
Sure.
Recommended
Okay, sorry.
Recommended motion to the Board of Education from David R. Cooper, Director of Technology, student Chromebook. The recommendation is, whereas Romulus Community Schools agrees to purchase 200 Chromebooks and required license utilizing REMC pricing from WDWG, which is my deal approved vendor. The rationale is due to the number of devices that have not been returned from the previous school year, or others that are in need of repair and replacement are needed while repairs occur. These devices are needed to continue our one-to-one program. The budget total not to exceed $62,882 from the general funds. In the board, in your board packet, we have attached CDWG quote. And the quote is in the package.
Moved by Kennard, is there support? I will support.
So just to speak on that, as been told, we had a much higher than expected number of devices not originally returned from over the summer. I am actually going to start off by saying, actually, proud to say as a district, we were one of the first districts around to get the devices out. By doing that, we created some some undue problems, but we worked, very hard to correct those. No thanks to, the technology staff of Sam, Roxanne, and Dan. As we've been trying to work through the summer to properly inventory all of our items, summer school was an extended time this year, because of the funding. It was 8 weeks instead of 6 weeks. We had basically about a week and a half, to try to get through all the Chromebooks that were used over the summer to inventorying them. After going through everything, we realized about 600 devices, like I said, had not been returned. Through great effort of all the school buildings, we provided them some list of the current students, and if they had a device still checked out to them, to try to get them back. We had, like I said, a great turnout. About 400 of the devices had been turned back. They have been since cleaned, wiped, updated, ready to get, and actually have been put back out into the students' hands. But I will say a lot of the devices did come back to us broken, damaged. It is part of a one-to-one program. So looking at right now to try to get 200 more devices. Down the road, we're going to be looking at utilizing some ESSER funds, getting some more, but right now just a bide time to get the devices in the students' hands so they can continue the one-to-one, and especially if we have classrooms that do need to get shut down due to COVID, so that we can make sure that every single student, again, has a device, they're not losing any instructional time, and we can move forward with this. I will say again, the number of devices not returned was way higher than I could have estimated. I'll take the blame for that one. I got no problem with that. It was not my expectations. It was not my expectations to not have that many devices. We tried over the summer. Everybody tried in the district to try to get them back. It was what it was, and we'll do better this next year when the school ends and a better collection process.
Madam President, so I guess that was going to be my question, Mr. Cooper, was the inventory control process is obviously broken. And
I wouldn't say broken. I don't say it's broken.
Okay.
It's just, if a student does return it,
Yeah.
we can only make so many phone calls to try to get the device back.
Okay, so what you're saying is that you did have a structured process in place. You had a process in place and your expectations. So moving forward, you're saying that you have something in place that would be more substantial.
We're internally talking about that better process, what it can be, talking to the building administrators, talking to some of the teachers to say, hey, what do we think is going to be a better process to collect them this next year? Because again, we want to keep them in the hands of the students as long as possible in their school year, because the teachers have developed their curriculum to rely on those devices. So it's just working with that, and and a lot of different strategies of, simple of, do we want to let, let's say a high school student keep the same device for all 4 years so they don't have to turn them back in? We're exploring a lot of different options right now as we move forward. But the main thing is we want to make sure we've got enough devices to get in the hands of the students.
Yeah, because I know with inventory of this type of magnitude, there is a percentage for refurbishing and
10%.
for damaging and for replacing and so forth and so on. And I know this is something that's very different for the district, in terms of, what your expectations were, making sure that our students have the devices that they need. So that was what my focus was, my question was, to make sure that, that you did have a plan, a strategic plan where, we know it can be revented and revamped, in the case of these types of situations, okay?
Yep. Learning from our mistakes.
That's what
Cooper,
it's all about.
I want to state this, please correct me if I'm wrong, because I know originally there was concern about us going one-to-one in all these Chromebooks, but is it correct that our students cannot just access the internet on these devices? So there's no value in having this device. It's limited to the access to Edgenuity and the programs, and not, it doesn't work like a normal.
Well, first of all, this
Correct.
has nothing to do with Edgenuity.
No,
Okay.
right, but I mean, they can't just go surf the web, and there's not an advantage
It goes
to.
by law. We have to filter the internet. All
Right.
of the devices that we provide go through our filter. And anytime if we see like a lot of the devices that are out there, 200 devices or so that are out there still, we have locked them. And
Yes, that's
basically
the other thing.
they're considered what we always say, it's bricked. Students can't log on to it. When they open up the Chromebook and try to power it on, it says please return it, gives our phone number and address to return the device.
Right.
So it has
So
been.
that's good, right. So they're,
Yep.
they're not functional to anybody. So I know there was board concerns before about would people be.
Yep, no,
So
they're,
that has been taken,
no, we've locked every single one of them, and our best guess why these 200 is they're broken, they're lost, they're stolen, you know, again. Some of the, some of the stories we hear about how and why some of them are broken are pretty crazy. But they're broken. I'm not expecting to get this last 200 back.
and one more one more question I have, Mr. Cooper, is I was asked, we had enough Chromebooks when we were 100% virtual, and now that we are back face-to-face, why do we need so many? Is it accurate that we are still providing one-to-one Chromebooks to our students regardless of whether they are 100% virtual or in person?
That's the definition of a one-to-one, whether, you know, some
Right.
students have opted out not taking them. But whether they don't take them, we want to be able to provide those devices in the classroom too at the same time with it. So you always have to have the extra, because again, I could simply open up my doors right there and you could see 400 broken Chromebooks. As we
Right.
got them last year, we have some students that are, you know, to be frank, are on their third Chromebook that has been broken. You know, it's the nature of, you know, having the devices
Sure.
at this point.
Thank
So,
you.
and it's developing those procedures in place to say, hey, this is the consequences if you break it. But again, we don't want to interrupt the learning process by not having that device in the student's hand while in the classroom.
Thank you. Ms. Wester?
Mr. Cooper, when we give out the Chromebooks, are the parents signing, saying that they received these and what the cost would be if said computer is damaged? So that especially a child, if you're saying they're on their third Chromebook, at some point in time, we need to send Mr. and Mrs. Smith or John Jones an invoice for a Chromebook. I know that we budget and we say, okay, we budget so many to be written off because of, but if you're on your third Chromebook, we need to be sending them an invoice.
Yep.
And like you say, you don't want to keep the child from learning, but if they are in school, they can do whatever's in school and don't need to take one home.
Correct, and that's where we're at, where some students that are on those devices, on their third device, they're not allowed to take one home right now, okay? I was working, to be frank, with Steve Baker to ensure on how to do that collection process. Again, I'm the tree hugger. Everyone knows I want to try to be as paperless as possible, trying to do online payments and everything. As for the signature, yes, the back to school and new student registration all has into it a one-to-one agreement that the parent has to sign electronically in there, and they also have to sign our acceptable use policy. We're still waiting on I'll say, a smaller number than it was before, since we started our distributing them, a smaller number of parents that needed to go in and sign their one-to-one, because again, they weren't given one. We're 3 weeks into it. We still have some students that have signed it. Again, the text, I want to give a special shout out to Sam, because Sam has taken us on during all this, the situations we're in, and some of the added responsibilities I've taken on. He's taken over it, and he's done a great job just walking the cafeterias, reminding the students to get it, making those phone calls saying, hey, parent, please go in, sign this one-to-one agreement so we can get you that Chromebook to go home. But again, we go through our inventory a couple times a week of making sure who's allowed to have what, and if they still have a device to return.
Thank you.
So,
Thank you. Are there any other board member questions? Ms. Evans, are you still with us? Okay. Okay, so if there are no further questions, it was moved by Kennard, supported by Piles, to purchase 200 Chromebooks and the required licensing, and the budget is not to exceed $62,882 from the general funds. Mr. Bergeron? Yes. Ms. Wester? Yes. Ms. Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Kennard?
Yes.
Piles, yes. Motion carries.
thank you.
I have not heard, I don't think we have a report of board subcommittees tonight, a report of the board president. All I have is just the reminder about the annual leadership conference, to see Paula on that if anybody needs to. And The other thing I wanted to just bring attention to that was exciting is, so the Michigan Department of Labor and Economic Opportunity announced the recipients of approximately 1.5 million in state funding to support adults over the age of 23 with obtaining a high school diploma and placement in career training programs. And this was open to all districts in the state of Michigan. Only 6 districts were recipients of this grant. Romulus Community Schools, the Romulus Adult Education being one of them. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to Ms. Renee Gowan, our Director of Adult Education, who applied for this on her own, took the initiative, and as a result, the district was awarded $50,000. And this will help adult learners who are at least 23 years old with a variety of services, including dropout re-engagement, academic intake assessments, and then integrated learning plans. And it will also help with planning to pursue careers. And so I just wanted to thank Ms. Gowan for going above and beyond and doing that for our adult ed students. We are at communications from the public. Before we begin, to maintain order, I want to read the guidelines for public participation at board meetings as stated in our bylaws. The board will establish guidelines concerning public participation at board meetings. The guidelines will include, but not be limited to, limiting the time any individual may address the board, for which we have 3 minutes, requiring individuals who wish to address the board to identify themselves, their address, and any organization they represent, advising the public that generally the board and individual board members do not directly respond to comments, requiring individuals who wish to address the board to direct their comments to the entire board and not to individual board members, the superintendent, or other district employees or members of the audience, prohibiting behavior that is intemperate, abusive, defamatory, or discourteous, or that otherwise interferes with the orderly conduct and timely completion of the board meeting, and excluding from the meeting an individual who engages in conduct that constitutes a breach of peace. Disturbing the peace, also known as breach of the peace, is a criminal offense that occurs when a person engages in some form of unruly public behavior, such as fighting or causing excessively loud noise. When a person's word... Okay, so this is the state law. So when a person's words or conduct jeopardizes another person's right to peace and tranquility, he or she may be charged with disturbing the peace. I am confident we can make it through this period without that, but please keep in mind a violation of the bylaws during public comment. You will not be allowed to speak and you will be asked to leave the meeting. So first we have Mr. Scott Rourke.
Good evening. My name is Scott Rourke. I'm the district data coach for Romulus and work out of the curriculum department. I have been a teacher in the district for 22 years now. I would like to bring to the board's attention that we are currently operating without an executive director of instruction during an educational crisis caused by COVID pandemic and the extended periods of virtual instruction. As a result of the educational crisis, Romulus students have suffered a 20-point drop in reading and math growth as measured by the 2021 state assessments. That puts Romulus students roughly around 25 percentiles below the growth norm of the state. In terms of proficiency, we have 16% of our K through 8 students proficient in reading and 8% of those students proficient in math. Keep in mind, these percentages and growth rates are only the students who took the 2021 state assessments. MDE did not support testing students who were receiving virtual instruction, so many of those students did not come into their school buildings for testing. This puts us at best 20% behind the proficiency rate of Wayne County. In all of the board meetings I have watched this year, I have not once heard the board address the education of our students during this educational crisis and what is the plan to accelerate the learning so that our students have a better opportunity to recover. With Dr. Lafayette Laws, the curriculum department developed a plan to improve the instruction for all students and address the severe learning loss in this district. However, that plan is quickly falling apart because we do not have an executive director of instruction. The board may not be aware that during our last advanced ed accreditation assessment, the most critical finding was that Romulus did not operate as a district system. Instead, it functioned as a system of individual schools, meaning we were not providing each student with a guaranteed viable district curriculum. We have since made improvements to meet the accreditation standards. But again, I say, without an executive director of instruction, I see the evidence that the work we have done is disintegrating back to the previous educational practices that were cited in the advanced ed report. We need a fully staffed central office that can make the day-to-day instructional decisions to support the education of our students. I mean, no disrespect to Mr. McNatt, but interim positions are not designed to make long-term goals and establish practices to see those goals through. Our teachers deserve a curriculum that provides confidence in its impact on student learning. Our students deserve innovative education that is going to lead them out of this educational crisis and into the next chapter of their lives. Our parents need to rest assured that their children are receiving the best education possible and that their hopes and dreams for their children are within sight. This can only be done with a central office that is fully operational with permanent staff members at the helm. I hope the board understands that the learning loss in this district is going to be devastating to this community. And if the board does not prioritize the education of our students, that is going to be the result. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rourke. Next, we have Mr. Hanson.
Well, normally you guys have an agenda or a time to talk about the agenda. I don't know. It's kind of like when we switch up the time for board meetings, switch up the agenda. It's kind of like trying to silence my ability to speak. You know, and just to know that that is political. Tonight I had a few items that I wanted to talk regarding the agenda. The first missing item was bringing back Dr. Edmondson from paid leave. Even though you said this was not a punishment, after you make this vote, you need to let Mr. McNatt know his 10 days so he can leave. I am sure the way you dealt with Dr. E, that this cannot be seen as not punishment. Only the gang of 4, which right now it's only the gang of 1, you're all by yourself. People have other priorities, it appears. You guys don't see it this way. This is how we see it. We see it as a witch hunt. Second missing item was given the 3 RCS employees recognition for their hard work prior to being forced out by the gang of 4, by you, Debbie. There should be a special thanks to Ms. Hazlitt. In the years that I worked with her, she was the best human resource director we have had. So thank you, Debbie, for driving her away. You guys didn't appreciate her, probably because she wasn't a yes man. She didn't bow to your whims. And even when Miss German wanted to have her son hired, she stood up to you. Miss Daggle, the director of early childhood, she should also be recognized. Yet another key player being driven out by the Gang of Four. Miss Miller, last meeting, I was so embarrassed and almost to tears for her. Okay, you guys showed how she was not valued by the district, undermining what she actually does for the district, and then negotiating her salary in public. What a disgrace. It is really sad. And to the three of them, I want to say thank you. And you know what? We should have fallen heroes flags or something for all the people that you guys have driven out. Because those were just three. How many have we lost now? And are we going to lose our administrators next? Are our principals going to leave? What are we going to do without principals? Thank you, Gang of Four. Next, I want to talk about the Open Meetings Act. By approving, well, you didn't, the meetings for 9/13 and 10/11.
Mr. Hanson, time is up.
That was a violation of Open
Mr.
Meeting Act.
Hanson, time is up. Time is up.
Okay. And I want to also talk about Ms.
Mr.
Evans,
Hanson.
who's not here right now.
Mr. Hanson, time is up.
How
We
good is
have
these
a-
Google meetings when
Mr.
she's
Hanson,
out
time
eating?
is up.
How good are these meetings when she's out
Mr. Hanson,
eating?
stop speaking. Time is up.
Is it not inappropriate? Should you guys sanction her and fire her? I think so. Good day, Ms. Piles.
Emily, I'm sorry, is it Maturin? Is that the correct pronunciation?
Good evening, board members. My name is Emily Maturin, and I'm a fourth grade teacher at Hale Creek Elementary. This is my fourth year teaching fourth grade, but nevertheless, I've been here enough and long enough to know, and been to a lot of these board meetings to know the ups and downs. A lot of people were surprised that I did come back after all these years. But the reason is because of the students. That's the reason why. These students deserve teachers who are passionate and who will fight for them no matter what we have to go through. So that's why I'm here tonight, is for them. So usually I have something written out. This was kind of on the whim, which is not usual for me. But I honestly didn't have many words to say, because it's just kind of, it left me speechless watching the board meeting, well, trying to during my prep hour, which is actually 45 minutes actually, on Wednesday. And knowing that their future was on the line and on the shoulders of especially the 4 out of the 7 board members who consistently vote against whatever's best for them. And that's truly what's happening, and I don't know how some of us can we can go to sleep at night. So it's been very hard. It's very hard to have the energy to come up because it's just so draining. We have people leaving left and right, and there are more coming. I guarantee that if this continues to happen, if we don't put the students' interests at heart, as well as the staff and administrators and all the people who work for this community to give our students what they have the right to the best education possible, and this is not happening for them right now. And I'm shaking just because I have so much passion for those kids. And I just feel like when we are working day in and day out at school, knowing that whatever we do at school, no matter how successful or our lessons, no matter how connected we are with those students, knowing that at the root of it all, there's so much rottenness going on that's unnecessary, and you can't grow a tree with rotten roots. You just can't. No matter how good of the teachers, it does not matter. We can't get anything done in this district. And so I'm asking you tonight to please think about the students and do what's right for the students, because I would not have to be here after a full day of understaffed work at our buildings because we don't have enough staff members, I would not be here on a Monday night. I would be doing my stuff like grading my papers and all the stuff that comes along with teaching after school. But I am here because this is the most important thing right now. And I just also want to say, as an additional side, when we were virtual teaching last year and in person, which was another thing of itself, we were required to have our cameras on, and I do find it very unprofessional that they are not on there. So please think about the students. Thank you.
Lisa Johnson.
Good evening to the board. I would like to say this. First of all, I commend those who stand up and speak up for the community, because that's what it's about, the residents and the children in this community. It's not about that personal pride that I hear back there. And so I want to address, first of all, I called the board for help the second day of school. And the response that I got was, yes, a bus driver did come in babbling about a student who was 7 that had to walk alone in the dark, half a block by herself to catch the bus at a stop that had just been made up. Now, she already had a bus stop for the past 5 years that was close to her home, but for some reason, they canceled that bus stop and created one for her to walk half a mile down the road in the dark. I told the board, we have a registered sex offender, there was a murder 2 blocks over, and now there was an open shooting on Ecorse Road at a business where that person got away, and you still want this child to walk alone. She gets on the bus on Colorado, between Colorado and Avalon and Hearst, it's 280 feet. The interim superintendent, I spoke to him and he said, a bus stop has to be 250 feet. I asked, well, can you just bring up the bus a little bit closer to her home? I don't want to see my granddaughter in tears when the bus drives past her, walking to her bus stop, or drives past her house, or stops in front of her house and says, they told me I can't pick you up right here. You have to walk down the street. So the bus driver drives past her, and you see a 7-year-old with tears in her eyes because she doesn't know what to do. Now, Mr. McNabb, you told me, you set up a meeting with me, but did not show. That was the first time I talked to you. What kind of impression do you think I have of you right now? And you have not spoken to me since. You told me, oh, we'll take care of it next year. Next year. This child has to come to my house to get on the bus to be safe. Now, if it's about the children and it's about our community and the people in this community, then I think you all need to rethink creating bus stops. Don't tell me you can't move a bus stop or change a stop, because I know for a fact you did. I'm a member of this community. I've been a member of this community. And you know what? At the end of the day, I'm a registered voter in this community.
Ms. Johnson? Have you spoken with transportation directly about this?
I have spoken with Ms. Hiles. I have spoken with Ms. Hollis. I have spoken with Ms. Kennard. I have spoken with interim superintendent, Mr. McNabb. I have spoken with transportation. Even the bus driver said it was unsafe. The bus driver. And if you don't listen to the people that you're hiring, why are you hiring them?
Ms. Johnson, the reason I ask, and I know that we've talked, and I have contacted central office on this. I do not know about the bus routes and who develops them, but we are concerned about the safety of children. Mr. McNatt?
No disrespect, but I followed the bus route, and I told you I did. And you all said you would come out and follow this route. Do you want me to read the text that I have?
No, I know, because I wanted to see the space. But
no one
but-
has come out.
But Ms. Johnson, the reason I'm asking is, I didn't know if you've had that direct conversation. Mr. McNatt.
I've had it
can-
since the second day
Okay,
of school.
Mr. McNatt, could we follow through? Could you follow through with, we can't speak for transportation, but can you have a meeting with transportation and Ms. Johnson and
You
get something
created
resolved?
a bus stop that no children were at. She's the only one on that end of the street that has to walk down to Hearst to catch the bus. The only child. And you all told me that really it was not important enough for you to change a bus stop that no children live by. She doesn't live by that bus stop that she has to walk to. And you say 250 feet. Okay, it's 280 feet from Avalon in Colorado to Hearst in Colorado. So why can't that bus driver even come around the corner?
So, Ms. Johnson, I don't know the answer to that question, but I can tell you.
She drives so fast that even the police are following her.
Okay, so Ms. Johnson, I know the district, doesn't set the routes, transportation does, but I've asked Mr. McNatt to contact you and transportation together so that something can be resolved.
How many of you have already told me that? Because you know how many of you I've spoken to.
I've spoken with you. I've
and-
spoken with you, and I talked with the
And what
interim
did you tell me?
superintendent. I talked with the interim superintendent and said that.
Lisa Hollis told me, she said, if I had not spoken to Superintendent McNatt, I would not be, and I cut her off because she was going to say, I would not be making this call. 3 weeks had went by. She said, oh, this is my first time hearing of it. How? If she's one of the supervisors in the evening, how?
I don't have that answer. I know that I forwarded
No
that,
one
and
has-
yes,
no
but
one
we
has
will
an
get.
answer for
we
me.
will-
What? If
After I
like-
spoke
like-
with you, I contacted central office.
Like
I
Superintendent
hadn't heard,
McNatt
but we will
said,
get it.
It'll be next year.
No.
That's what he said.
Tomorrow, Mr. McNatt and
I
someone
don't
from
want to see
transportation
my
will speak to you.
granddaughter cry again because the bus drives past her house and won't pick her up. You want your children to be safe just like I want my granddaughter safe every day.
Absolutely.
I watch out for all the kids on my street. I know when kids are picked up at Avalon in Colorado and when they're not. And it's a group of kids, 4 kids at the most. She has to go to the opposite end by herself. And you got, it's sad because I grew up in Romulus. This turns my stomach.
It does. Mr. McNatt, after you have that conference call with Ms. Johnson, Transportation, will you
He
just
gave
send
me
the
his answer.
email and send the board an email so we know the update on
He
that,
already
please?
gave me his answer. He said next year. But my question is this. When the superintendent says, okay, yes, that child can be picked up at such and such a location. This is taken care of. You don't have to worry. Does that go? Or who makes that decision? Shouldn't it be the superintendent?
For bus routes, transportation, that's why I'm saying, if
So
transportation.
shouldn't they go to transportation? Because when Dr. E was superintendent, I spoke to him. And he was the only one that called me back, and he was the only one that said, before I said it, why can't she be picked up at her house? Why can't she be picked up at the old stop, which was 2 houses from where she lives? He asked that question, and then this is what he told me. He said, "What do you need me to do?" And I told him, it's unsafe for her to walk by herself down to that corner. I said, "Can you bring the stop closer?" He said, "Why can't she be picked up at her house? This is taken care of. It's done." So as far as I'm concerned, he made that
Okay.
decision, and she should be picked up.
When were you told that he could be
When
picked up at the house?
Dr. E
Right.
was superintendent.
That she could be picked up at the house?
Yes.
Okay.
So-
Madam
Yes.
President, let me add to this. Ms. Johnson did contact me. It was right in between when Dr. E was here and exited and whatever. And so he did get that information because I was the one who forwarded it to him, and he did respond to that. And so in following board responsibilities, whatever, we passed it on.
And then 2 days, 3 days
Yeah,
later.
right, and we passed it on to central administration to handle. I think Mr. Garland is over, he works with transportation. With the interim superintendent, had several conversations, and so they were supposed to have been handling that. And
But Dr.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. I know exactly what you're saying. I'm just
But Dr.
reiterating.
E had already started
Yeah.
handling that, and
Yeah.
it's just so happened
Yeah.
that 3 days later,
Yeah.
he's gone.
Yeah, so
And he can't handle
so
it.
what I'm reiterating.
Superintendent McNatt
Yeah.
said the same words that Lisa Hollis told
Okay,
me.
so I'm reiterating the fact that this situation was brought to the attention of, early on, not just with the interim superintendent, but with the previous superintendent. Okay, and so whatever conversations that happened in between all of that, okay, the piece there wasn't communicated, whatever, but there was some clause in there pertaining to the law between distance, and I think I had a conversation.
250 feet.
250 feet with the interim superintendent, but the question here, and as I stated before, was that the bus pickup had changed.
Right.
Okay, without the notification, okay, to those individuals in that particular area, okay, and that's what I understood. And so if that's the case and there's no one at that particular bus stop, then why couldn't it be, back to the original route, because that's where the individual was being picked up from the first place. So with knowing that, interim superintendent, I think you and Mr. Garland and transportation, you guys should revisit this, okay, and handle this accordingly, expeditiously.
And Superintendent McNatt is the one that told me 250 feet. I just took it upon myself to find the distance from Avalon to Hearst, so there would be no question or no problem that I didn't know what I was talking about.
Thank you.
And I see this on September 16th, that we took the details and that you'd called transportation prior to that. So now you'll be receiving a call tomorrow.
I don't want to receive the same call that I got.
No,
So
no.
I don't know why
If you
I
were
can't-
told that she could be picked up at her house, then that
That's
needs
what
to
I
be
was
honored.
told.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Because I know there's a lot of bus stops that had been changed.
I'm sorry?
Well, what I'm saying is, because I'm up here, I'm saying there were several bus stops that was changed to accommodate the safety of children. Because you
Okay,
had.
so what I'm saying is if Dr. Edmondson told this grandmother that she could be picked up at her house, and I know that we talked on September 16th, and he was here then.
I don't have to come up here for no.
So anyway, Ms. Johnson, tomorrow.
I'm talking to you all.
Yes.
And like I said, I don't have a reason to lie. I grew up in Romulus. I have pride for my city. And I want the best for all the kids that's growing up and the residents that live here and the residents that vote for you all. But you're not giving us that opportunity because one person saying one thing, somebody else is saying something else. And then you talk to another person, they're saying what the two people said. He said, why can't she be picked up there if nobody else is at that bus stop? You all created a bus stop at Hearst and Avalon. That was not a bus stop.
Right. So, Ms. Johnson, our transportation department sets up the bus stops. If nobody is getting on there, someone from transportation, Mr. McNatt, and you will talk about this and figure out the solution tomorrow.
So why did they make a bus stop where there was no
That I
children?
don't know. That I don't know. We don't, the district doesn't make the bus
That's the question
stops.
that the board should be asking.
Yep,
Why?
we'll ask that.
Why?
And nobody gets on at that second stop?
Nobody gets on. She gets on at Hearst and Avalon because that's where they told her
Right.
she had to go. The original bus stop was 6077 Colorado Street. And there was a group of another house that had 5 or 6 kids, and they all got on between her house and their house.
I see that. I put there 5 years at 67007 Colorado.
That's what the original was.
Okay.
This year, this didn't happen until after I called transportation. That's when they made Hearst and Avalon a bus stop.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Johnson.
And my mother was a bus driver too, so I know the policy just like all your other bus drivers.
Skylar Thomas.
Just so everyone knows, my name is Skylar Thomas. I graduated top 5 of my class last year in the area college program, so I'm in my bonus year as well. I'm also on the honor college I'm in the honor system for college as well. So I'm actually taking away my time for homework right now to be here for this. I'm speaking, it took me about 3 weeks, maybe 4, to get not the courage, but the words to speak about everything that's going on, because with Dr. E being out, he's the main person I have seen to be in our classrooms, to be a part of our bridge program and our band program. Yet when that motion was brought upon everybody, yes, it seemed like it came out of nowhere. Only 2 people knew of it, and when it was spoken of, the papers were not in order and not everyone had them. So if you can't, when 4 to 5 people leave and they point out a reason why and it's all the same, shouldn't we look into that? Because if you don't see a problem with that, then there is surely something you're missing. And for the special meeting that happened on Wednesday, I did attend virtually. I did plan attending in person, but I was unable to. I had other things to attend to. For that, I was in disbelief. I did email the board in regards to it. Everyone that attends here is either an employee or a student or someone a part of this community and has a job during that time. And yet, during that time, we have a new contract in place for our interim superintendent, while our actual superintendent is still getting paid. So we're paying 2 people for the same job when he can be on return. And you said their investigation is not for a person, yet he's on paid administrative leave until the investigation is up. The timeline should not line up like that. If he's not on investigation, why is he not back? And it sounds like a broken record for the amount of things that are said. It should not sound like a broken record for saying he is not on investigation, then prove it. His name should not be thrown around when the investigation is also in the same line. And for when we are talking, yes, we're not supposed to have responses back from you guys, but it seems like it is more defensive and that we are not part on the same team, even though we are all on the same team. I do not feel like every time I've watched these videos and been a part of the meetings that we are not respected. There was a request for laptops to be closed, yet they weren't, for respect. And when people are talking and over-talked by others, even if that's on the same board or by a community member, it seems so disrespectful. And in classrooms, there's often times for lessons to be paused so that people can talk one at a time, so everyone can be heard. All I gotta say is it seems like we need to get something in order because our students are leaving and it's showing. And the classrooms do not seem in a rate any longer.
Simona Miller.
Good evening. My name is Simona Miller. Middle school ELA teacher, union, REA union vice president as of, I think, a week now. I have some notes jotted down here, but my main thing I want to say, and it's going back to what Mr. Rourke said, we really, really, really need to think about getting back to our children and the sole purpose of why we are here. And somewhere along the way, we have forgotten that. And that hurts me to my core. We are talking about our kids. We're in a time where COVID is rampant. We have a time where the majority of us teachers are teaching new curriculum, some of which we all may have not been trained on because we no longer have anyone running our curriculum. The kids at McDonald's or the adults that are working there, they can't train and they can't run McDonald's unless they've been trained. We have to do better. You keep talking about this cabinet and the people on Grant Road. What are we going to do when everybody on Grant Road is gone? They're all gone. When are you going to look at yourselves and see you need some plans? One of those gentlemen stood up here and said you need procedures and plans in place. We can't move forward until we do some of that internally. This is ridiculous. We have babies getting up that have been through our district that are begging you to do better. I was a little late for this meeting. I did not hear one thing about the students until he got up and said we needed Chromebooks. We are bickering, we are going back and forth. Let's stop and think about the climate and the culture, because pretty soon, talk about a teacher shortage, you're not going to have anybody in the classrooms. No one. No one's going to drive the buses. No one's going to be in the classrooms. I don't know, but my administrator has been behind the desk as secretary and everything else. So you're not going to have anyone anywhere. And if you think I'm joking, come walk around the schools. Come walk, and not just for a hot second. Come walk. Step into my classroom. Come see what we are doing every single day. This is not a joke. So you can come and you can sit and you can look at all of us and think we are planning, but you're not playing, but you're not going to have anyone. Now, until you address the real reason why people are leaving, I read letters. And if you didn't, maybe you need to go back and reread them. Why people are leaving this district like 90 going north. We can't get trained because we don't have subs. Why don't we have subs? Why don't we have people here? Think about it. It is almost 9 o'clock. This is hour 13 plus for us. Do you think we want to be here? We have technology some of us don't even know how to use. Are you serious? Come back, wake up, do something about the climate and the culture here before you don't have anyone, period. I mean, I can't even believe it. I have notes here. I can't even follow my own notes. The young lady, 4 years, said I should be at home grading my papers. No, she shouldn't. I shouldn't be in the back trying to grade my papers. No, we should be at home having a life. Who's updating our COVID thing online? Nobody. Seriously? Numbers are going up. What are we supposed to do? I don't want to play Russian roulette with my mother. I have 83 at home that I need to go home to. Seriously? We don't want to pay people? Are the rooms clean? What are we doing? Wake up and do what's best. I'm tired of saying the same thing over and over. Hit a gavel, tell people to be quiet. Do what is right. Why are we here if we're not going to do what's right? I have 138 babies that I have to be responsible for. I'm sorry, 8th graders that are taller than me every single day. I have to show up. If I don't feel good, I show up. Because those are the kids in my face looking at me. I got on a 90s jacket today. They thought it was Aretha on my back. It's me. But I showed up for my babies today. And I'm here fighting for my children today because I need somebody to fight for them. Who's fighting for the baby on the bus? Fight for my kids. Fight for them, please. Fight. This year, 26. I don't have to be here. Fight for the kids. Do what's right. I'm talking to everybody before there's nobody. Stand up. And I'm very upset that nobody could stop and say to the young lady that just finished, I'm sorry, ma'am. We will follow up with transportation and handle that.
Thank you. The next person is Jessica Reyes.
Good evening again. My name is Jessica Race. I'm the band director at Romulus Middle School and at Romulus High School. And I seem to be making a habit out of speaking at these meetings lately. Like many other people, I didn't come here planning to speak tonight, but I have a whole paper of notes here, and hopefully I'm able to follow what I jotted down this evening. One of the things that I wrote at the top of my paper, and the reason that inspired me to come up here, is I kept hearing the board say that the audience is angry, and that we keep yelling out, and that we're ignoring facts, and that we were told the wrong thing. However, this is what I want you to realize. We understand there are issues in this district. We are not in denial. We are not naive, and we are not ignoring facts. Some of us have been here longer than some of you have been sitting up there. Many of us actually have been here longer than you guys have been sitting up there. I was here under 2 previous superintendents. I was here when our budget was off over $1 million and we didn't know how much money we actually had in our bank account. I was here when we were trying to negotiate, and our negotiating sessions got us nowhere because nobody knew how much money we had to work with when it came to negotiating. And I remember back to that time that not a single person was put on leave to investigate the finances. Okay, we're talking 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago when I was hired into this district. I graduated from this district in 2007. Those were our glory days. I was in college in 2009 when everything hit the fan, so to speak, and I watched it go downhill 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13. These are not new issues. And the thing that I've been trying to understand this entire evening, and what no one has given me an answer to, is why Dr. Edmondson is not here to help us sort through these 10 years of issues that we've been facing. I understand, and I think I can speak for a lot of the audience, that we needed to do a forensic audit. We probably needed to do it a long time ago. I understand that we chose to do it internally to avoid additional legal issues. We probably needed to do it a long time ago. And I also understand the following things about Dr. Edmondson. He is unapologetically himself. He is who he is, and he doesn't care if people like it. He is honest, and he was honest with all of us, even when we didn't necessarily want to hear it last year. He's always had the best interest of the district at heart and how we were perceived by the community. Once again, even if we didn't want to hear it. And he demands respect from people, even if you don't necessarily agree with him. So once again, what I'm not understanding is why this man is not here helping us, because I have not seen any evidence pointing to him trying to impede an investigation. All I see is a man at home on leave who would much rather be here doing his job. Thank you.
a little stiff from sitting back there so long. I'm Dan Bales, 38799 Barth Road. Former Board of Education member for 12 years, president for multiple times a year. Debbie, you said people can come to meetings remotely. And you cite the Michigan Association of School Board as your source. Is that correct?
I stated the provision in the Wayne County letter that I emailed
Okay.
to
All
Carol
right.
and
And
an email from Brad Benazik, yes.
Yes. And it said it can have a hybrid meeting. Okay, so inspired by my common sense, inspired by the letter that the city attorney gave elected officials in the city that they couldn't do that, I read the Open Meetings Act. And it says military duty, medical conditions, or state of emergency and disaster. So I contacted the Michigan Association of School Boards. And would you pass this out, please, to the board members, so they all have a copy of an email? And I asked them in the email, I said, my interpretation is it has to be military or medical. The response, do you know what Dr. Ben Green,
I'm sorry.
consultant from Michigan Association of School Boards? Let me put my glasses on and read what his response is.
Cool.
His response is, it's a medical condition or military. Those are the reasons to a remote attendance and will be able to participate and vote. You read the law correctly. They cannot attend remotely unless it's medical or remote or military. Now, what's the consequences of having violated the Open Meetings Act? Again, I read the Open Meetings Act. All those actions that you took, from the approval of the dates of the minutes from 30 to 60 days, can be challenged in the Ingham courts. And you can be forced to revote all of those issues. Now, the good news for the board is you can go ahead, make those motions all again, and get out of it, and pass it, and suspend Dr. Edisman again, approve his contract, and avoid that action. But it also says in the Open Meetings Act that if you intentionally violate the Open Meetings Act, that you're subject to $500 to $1,000 fines, individually as board members. So knowing this, Mrs. Piles, that you're in violation of the Open Meetings Act, if you continue to allow the remotely, I will personally file the suit in Ingham courts to have you fined and have these people come in and attend the meetings as they should. Now, you have spent all this money on lawyers. I suggest you spend some money on lawyers and get it done. And get it done correctly. So, my interpretation, if it goes on next meeting, I will go to the courts. I will ask that you be fined. Now, just stir up a little thing. I think the vote's 3-2 tonight. You can bring Ben Anthony back if you wanted to. Mrs. Evans is not legal to attend the meeting. Please, read the email. It's in writing from Michigan Association of School Boards. Dr. Edmondson, Dr. Green, read it. He says you can't do it. The people that you says you can't do it, you can't do it. It doesn't make sense that people can sit in restaurants or sit in a vacation home up on the lake and come to a meeting. It's common sense. You're in violation of the Open Meetings Act.
Mr. Bales? I would encourage you to reach out to Brad Benazik tomorrow. Here is why. Dr. Green is not an attorney. Let me finish, please. Brad Benazik is. And here is the difference. And what Dr. Green responded to you is correct, except in Wayne County. Brad Benazik said that Wayne County is the only county in the state of Michigan that is under a local state of emergency. So therefore, the reasons.
Well, it does say local state of emergency.
Right, so what it is Wayne County is the only county that had the remote or hybrid meetings extended for reasons other than the military. And what I did is I reached out to Brad Benazik and had him send me the Wayne County Local Public Health Department Emergency Epidemic Order in response to the COVID pandemic. And it is declaration of continued emergency due to COVID-19 to allow public meetings of governmental bodies to be held remotely under Public Act 228. Wait, to be held remotely under Public Act 228, extended from June 30th, 21 through December 31st, 2021. And this is the only county. So when Dr. Green was giving you that information, and Brad told me, any other county that does not apply to. But and let me pull up the email from Brad. Because he stated that, hi Debbie, read in conjunction with section 3A 4C. Because I had asked what is sufficiently in advance of a meeting mean. But he says, under section 3A 4C, if a school board is conducting a virtual meeting in whole or in part, because we are still allowed to. I received this email from him today at 4:08. So what I'm saying is I'm not disputing you.
No, go ahead and read
I'm not
it.
disputing you.
Read
My
it.
question to him was how much advance notice do we need? But he's saying if we're still holding virtual meetings in whole or in part, and that is what we are doing. We are holding virtual meetings in part. And the MASB, let me read you the MASB provisions, because, and that's why I said I would encourage you to call Brad, because he's legal. Dr. Green is not a lawyer, okay? And so what he was telling you applies to every other district in the state of Michigan except those in Wayne County.
Okay, read that to
In
me.
Wayne County, yes, I'm pulling that up.
Read his email to me, because I will contact you tomorrow.
Yeah, do that. Let me pull this up.
But if you're right, and you may very well may be, I'm gonna say it's really discourteous to the voters here that
Right.
this is
I mean,
happening.
it's not about being right or wrong, Mr. Bales. It's about, when the state gives a provision,
Read
we
the memo.
can't, okay, I sent it to, Ms. Bales. I'm looking for it.
You said you got it at 4:08 PM today.
Yeah, and then I was looking for the first one. Can we go to the next speaker? But I'm gonna look for that, and I will come back to this, I promise you. Thank you. Carol Bales?
First of all, is Mrs. Evans okay? She hasn't been with us for a while, so I'm hoping she's okay. But anyway, I just want to say in conjunction with what Dan said, and I may need a little extension here because I have some notes, Debbie. The city, my understanding today, I had a meeting at City Hall. My understanding today, there was a legal opinion rendered to the city. And I have a copy which I cannot share. It's a confidential information. But I think Mr. Bergeron asked that you get a legal written opinion, which I think you should.
I did that, and I forwarded it.
Well, I don't think that is exactly what you need, Deb, and I'm not going to say any more. But you need another opinion.
Okay.
And from somebody professional, maybe you have to pay for it. We pay for them all the time.
No, I received one from legal counsel that I forwarded to the board.
Okay, but
I can forward that to you also if you'd
You
like.
sent it to me, but it's kind of vague. And
No.
you know it's a
No,
little
no, no.
big.
I'm talking about, I didn't send you the one from legal counsel. That, I sent that
Right.
to the board if you would like that as
And I
well.
also have the whole county one too. We have all that information. We've been investigating. But wait a minute, that's not why I'm here, really. First of all, there used to be a board compensation cap on your pay. I have researched your board policy and can find it nowhere. Mrs. Kennard, I think you sit on the policy committee, do you not? Could you tell me what section it's in? Because I think we need a cap on your salaries. It used to be $2,500. I don't know what it is now. I'm sorry that Mr. Dixon and Mr. G are gone because I had some questions. And I hope that public comment goes back in because I would have liked to have been extended the courtesy of asking some questions. I want to know why the following people, or if the following people, have been investigated or been discussed or talked to concerning investigation. Jewel Clare, Steve Baker, Marie Miller, Margaret Hazlett, Bill Garland, David Cooper, Don Sovey, Ben Edmondson, Angie Rudolph, any and or all central office employees. And first of all, I'm very, very confused after the meeting tonight. I'm told by you, Debbie, that we're in a catastrophic state from our auditors. I'm told by Mr. Dixon that we seem like we're pretty solvent and doing pretty good. So I don't know if we're broke, if we're going under. If we go under, it's because we've lost kids, not because we have money. That's what I feel. Okay, now, going into the 8th week of school this year, without one board meeting providing public or board with projected enrollment report. It was on the superintendent's report in September, but we did not hear due to resolution presented by the board to place Superintendent Edmondson on leave. Those projections are important, as all of you know. It is our general fund budget. We have always known a projected, I know there's a 30-day waiting period, but we need to know the FTEs. It sounded like in Mr. Dixon's report that our enrollment is down. And we lost like 208, 500 and some thousand, I don't remember the exact figure. But anyway, another thing I want to bring up is the Open Meetings Act, which states electronic devices, email, texting, or other forms of electronic communications among members of a board or commission during the course of an open meeting that constitutes deliberations toward decision-making or actual decision violates the Open Meeting Act. And once again, since it is in effect a closed session. And it goes on and on and on. People, please get it together. Please take care of our children. Take care of our community. I'm tired of coming here, meeting after meeting after meeting, as are these other people. I appreciate Mr. Rourke and Mrs. Miller addressing our children. I feel sorry for Miss Johnson. I don't know all the particulars. I'm sure there's another side. I've been there. I understand that. But please, put things on the agenda for our kids. Keep us informed. That's all we're asking for is transparency and letting us know what is going on in our districts. We're hearing one thing and we're hearing another thing. I mean, we didn't even get an investigative report tonight, and we're still paying them to come and investigate. Why? Why? I mean, I'm at a loss. I don't understand. And all I want is answers. And that's all these people want is answers. And then you won't have to see us again. We won't bother you. Just get to us, please. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Ms. Bales, so you know, I didn't say catastrophic state. I said that the auditor said the way that our business office is functioning is dysfunctional, and if we don't make significant changes in that to our business practices, not people, to our business practices right now, the district will not survive, not even in the short term. So, Okay, so no, we don't know. We don't get finance reports. I don't know that. All I know is what the auditor told me, that we won't survive based on our practices. So hang on, I just want to give you this. And then as far as enrollment, it looks like, based on what we received tonight, that enrollment is down 200. However. So why didn't we get a report? Okay, well, that's what he said. And that's what Mike Dixon said. As far as the report, we have an employee who does our pupil accounting, who was doing those numbers. And I know, right, and was out, but that has been requested. That is a regular board agenda item update in the fall, so that will be coming. When we get those numbers, what we take is the decreased enrollment, not from last year to this year, but from 2 years ago to this year. Because last year, the state gave us the blended. Okay, so this year, and when it comes to the funding, the per pupil funding, we're going to feel the impact of 2 years of declining enrollment. So if I think Mr. Dixon was estimating a 200 increase over the last 2 years, our lost revenue will be the 200 times the 9,000. Right, but the other thing that he brought to us was also the number of enrollment we need to increase so that we're not suffering that impact. So yes, at our next meeting, I am hoping that we will have that report. And also, if the audit is going to be finished by December 1st, I will request that our auditors give that report at our first meeting in December.
He stated to us that if Don Sovey and Jewel Claire were here, we would not be in this problem today. And we would not have to come to meeting after meeting after meeting. And probably Superintendent Edmondson would be here. No offense to you, sir, but he would probably still be here. So, something has to be done. We need to
Yes.
move on.
Okay,
We
so,
don't need it on Facebook,
right.
airing our differences on Facebook.
Okay. No. Rita Hampton. And then Mr. Cooper, do we have some that were submitted? I don't want to forget that, so.
My name is Rita Hampton. I live at 31775 Augusta Drive in Romulus, Michigan. Let me say this, it's still mendacity and a contentious spirit here, and it continues to be full of lies and deceit. As you know, I put in recall, so let's get that out the way. I put in the recall papers. It was denied because of lack of clarity. Lack of clarity. And I don't care. Because it's just odd that they took they were here at that administration building, not sitting 6 feet apart. Neither were we sitting 6 feet apart, open meeting, and on Wednesday when we were there at the administration building. So when I hear that with kids in mind, drop them out of your mind because it don't mean nothing. And it doesn't mean anything now. It's just your own agenda. And that's what I can't get to, and I'm just keep on looking. So what made it so delicious in that rain, torrent, wind blowing in Detroit, I turned in 2 more. Evitts and Piles go up again. By the time I got home, I got an email from the judge saying, hey, on November 4th, and we're going to kick in Kennard too. So I'm ready. I got them sitting over there. Every time they do something that is not conducive to the school district, and I still don't know why Dr. Ben is gone. I just don't get it. He didn't do anything. Nobody had said any charges. Everything, and then I read that email about hide and don't tell. That's mendacity. That's mendacity. And creating a contentious spirit. Now, if you don't see them talk about kids whoever takes care of the email, the agenda. But I tell you, I question, I just look at actions. After 35 years of teaching, I look at actions. I used to tell my students that if you really cared about children, when this young gentleman never heard a student please say, listen to me, put down your email, your computer, and listen to me. And you continued on? Did you really care about what he said? This is a valedictorian. When he walks the streets, people know he came from, I'm sure, Romulus. He tells. And this is how you respect him. That tells me volumes. That's volumes. Because all you had, what did you lose from that? My father used to say an important thing. Rita, don't cut off your nose to spite your face. All you had to do was shut it down and listen to him. What would you lose? What would you lose from doing that? You didn't care. Because what he had to say wasn't important. That didn't fit you. See, the problem is you don't know what clothes you're wearing and what fits you. You're just doing anything to save face. And you have cut off your noses to spite your face.
All right, from online. This is from, come on. Jay Smith. My understanding is that if a question were posed to the Board of Education seeking answers, that those questions would be addressed at the next preceding board meeting. However, there was a Board of Education meeting on Wednesday, October 20th, 2021, and none of the questions that I had previously asked at the board meeting on 10/11/2021 were answered or even brought up. I have also emailed a copy of the said questions to each board member. Have not received any answers to my questions. I have only received emails from 3 board members. I believe that the district IT department should make sure all board members' emails work properly, that each email can both receive and send emails. Question 1. Question 1. How much district funds have been spent on lawyer fees since August 1st, 2021? Question 2. Was there a meeting of 2 or more Romulus Board of Education members in regards to a motion to suspend the superintendent prior to the 6 p.m. Romulus Board of Education meeting on 9/27/2021? If so, when did this occur and who was present? Question 3. How was an interim superintendent chosen prior to the passage of the motion to suspend? Did the board meet with Sean McKnack prior to this motion? Question 4. Who was present for the meeting with the law firm Clark Hill PLC in regard to the drafting the motion to suspend the superintendent? Also, I've brought up new questions at the meeting on Wednesday, October 20th, 2021, meeting that I would like answered. Can you please answer, can you please answer, it's a long one. The following questions. Why was giving an interim superintendent a contract on Wednesday, October 20th, 2021 so urgent that a special board meeting had to be held that day? To my knowledge, no major changes or major deadlines occurred between Wednesday, October 20th at 10 a.m. And Monday, October 25th at 6 p.m. 2. How many superintendents, interim superintendents, former superintendents are currently being paid by the school district? What is the amount of that compensation? Having questions, comments during public comments about agenda items after the items have been acted on means that no stakeholders other than the Board of Education can give input before a decision is made. From Veronica Stevens, how did Dr. Edmondson obstruct the investigation? Let me make sure, scroll. From RJ Kiambo. An update from EMU Bright Futures. EMU Bright Futures is a free after-school program focused on academic support and positive youth development, maintained and managed by Eastern Michigan University. We currently have programs housed in Hale Creek Elementary, Ramos Elementary, and Ramos Middle School, as well as 22 other sites in other districts. This week, our programs will be celebrating Lights On after school, an annual celebration of after-school programs in order to call attention to the importance in the lives of youth. Throughout the COVID-19 shutdown, EMU Bright Futures made weekly home deliveries of activities and bags of fresh produce. We also maintained virtual meeting spaces to offer homework help and other academic support, as well as providing students with a sense of community. This year, we continue to do the following: provide safe and engaging learning experiences that help children realize their full potential, support working families by ensuring the children are safe and productive when they are out of the classroom, build stronger communities by involving students, parents, business leaders, and adult volunteers in the lives of young people, thereby promoting positive relationships among youth, families, and adults, engaging families, schools, and community partners in advancing the welfare of our children. We look forward to strengthening our relationship with Romulus Community Schools and the city of Romulus. Thank you. From Laura Manning. Dear Madam President of the Board, I have been a resident of Romulus since 2009. I worked in the district under Chartwells for 5 years at Hill Creek. I have 3 children in the district that attend Hill Creek. I am ashamed of what our district has become. Further, I'm terrified to see what the future of RCS, what future holds for RCS. This public display of drama and playing the blame game needs to stop. All of our issues are not the fault of one man. It has been a long time coming to create the issues we have today. Dr. Edmondson is the best person to happen in the district in a while. He brought a manner of caring and compassion along with the hope for better days ahead. And I'm sure you and a few others would like us to believe the contrary. Madam President, maybe you should take a look in the mirror because you yourself are not without flaws. It seems to me that you have done some questionable things yourself that are not exactly, for lack of better words, by the book. All things done in the dark eventually come to light. You and your board policies are driving the district into the ground. You, Madam President, are the mold that is infecting this district. From Chelsea Long, why are school board members allowed to participate virtually for meetings, yet next week for virtual PD, teachers are required to gather in a large group? From Tammy Garrison, I would like the board to reconsider and continue to post job openings. When Dr. Edmondson returns, he can hit the ground running and perhaps have applicants ready to interview. Thank you.
Thank you. Board member comments? Ms. Wester?
I got a lot of things on my plate right now. As I say every week, this is very disheartening. Very, very disheartening. There's a couple things from September 27th. There was an action item that has not been brought back that really should be brought back as it relates to our central office administrative assistants and secretaries. Relates to their stipends. I want to make a motion to amend the agenda for one, bringing back the stipends action item for our administrative assistants. 2, for bringing back Dr. Edmondson. And 3, for getting a new president.
There is a motion on the floor to amend the agenda, moved by Wester, supported by Terrell. Bergeron?
Yes.
Wester?
Yes.
Terrell?
Yes.
Kennard? No. Piles? No. Motion to amend the agenda fails.
Maybe they should have input on the
Okay. Please continue, Ms. Wester.
I'm not sure how it feels.
Excuse me. How does it fail?
Because it requires a 2/3 vote to amend the agenda.
We have a 2/3 vote, 5 people here.
A 2/3 vote of those elected and serving, 2/3 of 7.
It's not present,
It's 2/3 of the entire board of the 7. Ms. Wester. Okay, Ms. Wester has the floor. I'm sorry. Okay.
To the questions that Mr. Cooper asked for the one RB virtual one, I did answer that one question when we talked about the bills earlier for the August 1st. He wanted to know what the fees were. I answered that earlier, $9,112. I sent an email, again, not to get an answer. I'm not going to read the whole email. I'm just going to read the first paragraph. It was, "Good afternoon, Debbie. Word on the street is that Dr. E has an attorney. Can you verify this for the board? And if so, we should discuss it immediately. I sent you and the full board an email over a month ago stating that this could happen based on the harassment he's endured from you. There was the link that I put there from the Flint Community Schools where their superintendent wasn't allowed to do her job, and she sued the district. I sent it out as a FYI just to say, hey, I don't want us to go down this road. I never got a response from anyone. I don't know. Since the amended agenda failed, I would like to have it put on the agenda for next week, for our next meeting. The main thing is our educational stipend for our administrative assistant, which consists of Ms. Paula Goodsman, and our central office staff that was taken off their contracts. So I would like to have that in the minutes for it to be put on the next agenda.
They deserve it. All right.
As well as coming together as a board. We need and I said it earlier, and your staff has said it, our stakeholders have said it. We need Dr. E back. If he's not the center, he's not being punished, that's all we hear. Let him come back and do his job. Let him come back and do his job. We are losing staff. Our central office is empty. And Ms. Miller said, who's gonna be the next to go? When your school administrators start to leave, then there's nothing left. Culture and climate. Yes, they've said it, Ms. Reyes said it, everyone has said, Dr. E can be very hard. He's straightforward, he shoots straight from the hip. But when he said he was gonna do something, it got done. It got done. Look at where we are from when we passed the millage in May to where we are now.
Back in the ditch.
We are back where we start. We are almost worse than before he came in here.
We are worse.
We need to get it together as a whole. Remember, we're one. This is the 7 make one. We don't have one person that's the dictator. And that's what it looks like. We don't work for you. We all work together. We all work together. And I've said this in the past in emails about there is no I. We're a team. We are a team. We got elected by these people that sit out here.
We got elected by our stakeholders that are watching us on TV. That's who elected us. They elected us to make sure that our children get the education that they're entitled to, that our staff have the things and the tools that they need to teach our kids. This is being broke down. And like Ms. Miller said, go back and read. Go back and read all the resignations that have come through. Go back and read all the resignations that have come through and what they state. Ms. Terrell mentioned something earlier about February 22nd. We received an email, and it wasn't your email because you replied to another. Don't give out this information. Tell the auditors not to do this because we're about to pass an operating millage. But yet and still, now we want to talk about all the findings. That's not being transparent. We had a meeting. You sent us out an email about how you were getting, calls and stuff from the community about us being on our phones and having the computers up. It's the same thing. We had this young man that's sitting out here, our valedictorian, asked you guys, hey, can you please just close it down while I'm talking so you can hear what I'm saying? And you wouldn't do it. It's hurtful, it's disrespectful to this young man, our graduates, because he said in his speech, what he said to us was, we go to class and you want us to do this, you want us to make sure this is closed, you want us to pay attention. It was really a slap in the face. We, as a whole, I know we can do better. We can. We all express things differently. We all have different opinions. We all have good ideas. Just like that, very rude. Just like that, very rude, both of them.
Okay, Ms. Wester, Ms. Kennard was notifying the board president she had to leave, but that is not rude, that is necessary. But the two of you sat over there whispering today too. So she's telling me she's leaving, so you can continue. There was no need to interrupt you.
She could have said,
Are you finished?
You have been, you know what?
Are you finished?
You have been very rude today,
No,
Debbie.
I am asking,
When
are
people
you
are trying to
finished?
talk. And
You just called me out like we're being rude. She's telling me she's.
Just like earlier.
Stop, okay.
You said that
Continue.
You said that when people make comments, we're not supposed to respond. We're not supposed to respond.
I
if a
said the
person
board
asks
president
something.
and the superintendent have the
We're not
prerogative to
supposed to
respond.
respond. But Ms. Terrell asked you a question earlier and you guys wouldn't go back. You wouldn't answer her. You cut her off. Like I said, Debbie, you have very good ideas.
Okay.
But sometimes it's how you deliver them. And like I said earlier, it's not personal. You say it's not personal. It's not. This is my opinion.
Okay, no.
It's my opinion that how you do things are not decent and in order. It's not decent and in order. Like I said, sometimes it looks like we are hit in the face with it. And it may not be that intention, but that's how it comes across.
Okay, noted.
Teachers, staff, bus drivers, custodians, you guys do a great job.
My comment is basically the same. If I don't know where we would be without the teachers and our supporting staff continuing to work. But again, that used to be one of my father's favorite opinions or statements. Don't cut your nose off to spite your face. And that's where we are. The question has been asked several times. I've posed the question, when are we going to bring Dr. Edmondson back? I've posed the question, why is he not here to assist us with getting through everything that we're going through? Why is the superintendent not here? And to say that he's not being punished, it does not make sense. I don't understand. And I would like to have that question answered. To say that, to listen to everything that is being stated, how everything is being poised, it gives the impression that he is being punished. You're saying he's not, but the actions align with him being punished. And the result is that we do have people are leaving. Even prior to him being put out on paid administrative leave, which I personally believe that action was taken so that you could fall back on him not being the subject or the reason that he's being punished. But he is being punished. The district is being punished. It is placing us in a very bad position to be sued. It's placing us in a very bad position that people are going to continue to leave. We just had a comment about being down 200 students, and I question that number because it has not been, things have not been transparent. I've seen some other data that might suggest that it might be just the opposite. And I think that with your statement of that there is, because we don't have someone to handle the student enrollment, it's really not something that we have at this time. But why would that be mentioned if we really don't have that information and won't until next meeting? And again, I think all of these things are posturing to make it seem as though we're in a position because of Dr. Edmondson, when in fact, because of the actions of this board, we're in this position. We have had people to give us notice. We've had exit interviews. We've had different individuals to resign that said that it is because of the board. And I would like to get to a place where we bring back Dr. Edmondson. 2/3, I was just looking here trying to see if I could find that policy that states that it has to be 2/3 present. And I do remember that being, I thought it was 2/3 of the people that were present that would allow a motion to be passed. But it really needs to go back on the agenda. And if you're going to say no, be bold enough to say why you're saying no. Because the response that he's not being punished, but no, he can't come back, is not acceptable. It's not acceptable. That's it.
Mr. Bergeron?
The Lord knows that if I'd have known this board would have been like this, I've been on it for what, 4 or 5 months? And we haven't talked about kids one time. We fought about, contracts. The first meeting, he settled contracts. You guys didn't, I don't understand it. Debbie, I think you have very good knowledge in that, but I don't know why you're so twisted on this program. And I feel as though that you're losing focus of this district and more of what you're building underneath you. And I'm not being very critical, but it's bad. Everything you put together, the night that we got rid of and put Dr. Ben on leave was a surprise. And it all came up and all 4 of you said, well, we didn't know what was happening. Well, you know what? You did. And you still know, and we still don't know, and I just think that this community, needs this school district to turn around and do better. And I'm telling you what I'm seeing and what I'm hearing in this community, and I'm telling you what, I'm pretty wired when it comes to this community. People are upset at this school district right now. They're very upset. I bet you I could go out and raise $25,000 tonight to recall this board. I've had business people call me up saying, what in the heck is wrong with these people? What is wrong with these people? You have a good administrator in that, and then you hire a group of accountants. I wouldn't give you 25 cents for Dixon, with all due respect. And I deal with accountants all the time. And CPAs, he's not even a CPA. What is he? Is he just a regular accountant? I don't know what he is. And then that lawyer that we had there, Debbie, that is wrong. To put that into on the school board's website, without giving it to any of us to look over, was wrong. It was flat out wrong. And I didn't appreciate that, being at a wedding Saturday night and having Stacy Page send it to me and say, look he did all this wrong. I'm going, that's absolutely wrong. And then this guy sits out there and sends that information, and we're paying him? No way. So anyway, I hope that we just take a deep breath. I really believe I have so much faith in this community. I've put everything I have into it my whole life, okay? I've been a public servant, and I'm telling you what, this right here can either make this community or break it. And I don't care who you're supporting in the mayor's election. If we don't do something to turn this community around in this school district, I don't care who you have in there. Okay, it's gonna go down. So anyway, I hope and pray that we all get together at some point in time and do the betterment and what's right for this community. I have, Mr. Darcel here, my neighbor. What a great kid. The valedictorian is 5 houses down from him. These are great kids in our community. And to have us fighting week after week, and it's bad. And so I only wish that we could get it together, move forward, wipe off what's wrong, because I'm telling you, with all due respect, Ms. Piles, when you get an accountant, okay, and lawyers, and you put a lot of trust in them, they both are paid to lie, okay, flat out. The lawyers and the accountants, because you can take a number and twist it around 100 ways, the same as you can those laws. So, you got to feel what's good in your gut, okay? That's where it's important. So, anyway, that's my 2 cents. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bergeron. Do you have anything, Mr. McNabb? Okay, then on that, motion to adjourn. I'm gonna get that for Mr. Bales. Okay, so Brad Benazek, I don't see the original one that I forwarded to you, Ms. Bales, but I have, the question, we had established that we could have the meeting, so I need to look for that for you, Mr. Bales, but the most recent email was regarding posting notice of those members that will not be in attendance. So I said, good morning, Brad, I have questions regarding 15.263, section 3.2b. The public will receive notice of the absence of the member and information about how to contact that member sufficiently in advance of a meeting to provide any business that will come before the board, before the school board, to provide input, I apologize, to provide input on any business that will come before the school board. What constitutes sufficiently in advance of a meeting? And I said, is this posted on the notice itself, or may we add that information on the district website at a later time? Notice is posted on Fridays for Monday meetings. I said, we have not been doing this, which violates OMA. Does it impact decisions made during those meetings? We can't undo previous failure to adhere, but is there anything we should be made aware of? Thank you for your assistance. Have a great day. His response to me today at 4:08, hi Debbie, read in conjunction with section 38 or 3A4C. I interpret the phrase sufficiently in advance of a meeting to mean at least 18 hours prior to the meeting being called for. Under section 3A4C, If a board is conducting a virtual meeting in whole or in part, it must post 18 hours in advance of the meeting on the school district's website that is fully accessible to the public. If the notice is not posted on the district's homepage, the homepage must include a prominent and conspicuous link, such as public notice for electronic school board meeting, to a separate web page dedicated to public notices for meetings or electronic meetings. Thus, this notice is in addition to any previous regular or special meeting notice that was posted. Notice of a virtual meeting, because that's allowed, must include why the school board is meeting electronically, how members of the public may participate in the meeting electronically, how members of the public may contact members of the board to provide input or ask questions on any business that will come before the board. A court has discretion to invalidate a decision made in violation of OMA if it finds that the violation impaired the rights of the public under OMA. To succeed in a lawsuit for invalidation, the person who brings the complaint cannot simply allege an impairment of public rights, but must instead make specific factual allegations demonstrating that the public's rights were impaired. If a decision is challenged and a lawsuit is initiated to invalidate that decision, a school board may reenact the disputed decision in compliance with the act. Further, a school board may reenact a decision to correct a procedural deficiency, even in the absence of a pending lawsuit. However, reenactment does not affect an action brought against a public official for an intentional violation of OMA. The reasons that were given for board members to participate remotely were extended from June 30th, 2021 through December 31st. So that means that all of the provisions for all of the reasons that we were under up to June 30th have been extended through December 31st. That's why it's not just military. That exists anyway. I'm sorry? I'll show you. You come up here and we'll discuss it. That way we can adjourn the meeting. I'll keep talking for whoever wants to, but. But and call Brad. So, there was a motion to adjourn.
Debbie, can I ask one quick question? Does the resolution trump our board policy as it relates to the meeting?
What do you mean as it relates to the meeting?
Because we took on and followed suit behind the city when you read the resolution for us to be able to do partial.
Yes, the order is federal, state, local, district. So yes, anything local, state, or federal trumps board policy.
Okay, I was just making sure, yeah. It
So-
was just a question someone had asked
Yep.
me. So.
Motion to adjourn. Moved by Piles, supported by Bergeron. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Meeting is adjourned at 9:51. Come here, because I can hear. If you want